schools and for higher education. This aims to help students understand their subjects better and in their language. National Centers of Excellence for Skilling. Building on the initiative announced in the July 24 budget, 5 national centers of excellence for skilling will be set up with global expertise and partnerships to equip our youth with the skills required for Make for India, Make for the World manufacturing. The partnership will cover curriculum design, training of trainers, and a skills certification framework and periodic reviews. Expansion of capacity in IITs. Total number of students in 23 IITs has increased 100% from 65,000 to 1.35 lakh in the past 10 years. Additional infrastructure will be created in the 5 IITs started after 2014 to facilitate education for 6,500 more students. Hostel and other infrastructure capacity at IIT Patna will also be expanded. Center of Excellence. Center of Excellence in AI for Education. I had announced 3 centers of excellence in artificial intelligence for agriculture, health, and sustainable cities in 2023. Now a center of excellence in artificial intelligence for education will be set up with a total outlay of 500 crores. Expansion of medical education. Our government has added almost 1.1 lakh undergraduate and postgraduate medical education seats in 10 years, an increase of 130%. In the next year, 10,000 additional seats will be added in medical colleges and hospitals towards the goal of adding 75,000 seats in the next 5 years. Daycare cancer centers in all district hospitals. Our government will facilitate setting up of daycare cancer centers in all district hospitals in the next 3 years. 200 centers will be established in 25-26 itself. Strengthening urban livelihoods. Our government has been giving priority to assisting urban poor and vulnerable groups. A scheme for socio-economic upliftment of urban workers will be implemented to help them improve their incomes, have sustainable livelihoods, and a better quality of life. PM Swanidhi scheme has benefited more than 68 lakh street vendors, giving them respite from high-interest informal sector loans. Building on this success, the scheme will be revamped with enhanced loans from banks, UPI-linked credit cards with 30,000 rupees limit, and capacity building support. Social Security scheme for welfare of online platform workers. Gig workers of online platforms provide great dynamism to the new age services economy. Recognizing their contribution, our government will arrange for their identity cards and registration on the e-Shram portal. They will be provided health care under PM Jan Arogya Yojana. This measure is likely to assist nearly 1 crore gig workers. Investing in the economy. Public-private partnership in infrastructure. Each infrastructure-related ministry will come up with a 3-year pipeline of projects that can be implemented in PPP mode. States will also be encouraged to do so, and can seek support from the India Infrastructure Project Development Fund, which is a scheme to prepare PPP proposals. Support to states for infrastructure. An outlay of 1.5 lakh crore is proposed for the 50-year interest-free loans to states for capital expenditure and incentives for reforms. Building on the success of the first asset monetization plan announced in 2021, the second plan for 2025 to 30 will be launched to plow back capital of 10 lakh crore in new projects. Regulatory and fiscal measures will be fine-tuned to support the plan. Jal Jeevan Mission. Since 2019, 15 crore households representing 80% of India's rural population have been provided access to portable tap water connections. To achieve 100% coverage, I am pleased to announce the extension of this mission until 2028 with an enhanced total outlay. The mission's focus will be on the quality of infrastructure and O&M of rural piped water supply schemes through Jan Bhagidari. A separate MOU or separate MOUs will be signed with the states and union territories to ensure sustainability and citizen-centric water services delivery. Urban sector reforms. Building on the July budget proposals, urban sector reforms related to governance, municipal services, urban land and planning will be incentivized. Urban Challenge Fund. The government will set up an Urban Challenge Fund of 1 lakh crore rupees to implement the proposals for cities as growth hubs, creative redevelopment of cities, and for water and sanitation purposes announced in the July budget. This fund will finance up to 25% of the cost of bankable projects, with a stipulation that at least 50% of the cost is funded from bonds, bank loans, and PPPs. An allocation of 10,000 crore is proposed in 2025-26. Power sector reforms. We will incentivize electricity distribution reforms and augmentation of intra-state transmission capacity by states. This will improve financial health and capacity of electricity companies. Additional borrowing of 0.5% of GSDP will be allowed to states contingent on these reforms. Nuclear energy mission for Vikasit Bharat. Development of at least 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047 is essential for our energy transition efforts. For an active partnership with the private sector towards this goal, amendments to the Atomic Energy Act and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act will be taken up. A nuclear energy mission for research and development of small modular reactors with an outlay of 20,000 crore will be set up. At least 5 indigenously developed small modular reactors will be operationalized by 2033. Shipbuilding. The shipbuilding financial assistance policy will be revamped to address cost disadvantages. This will also include credit notes for shipbreaking in Indian yards to promote circular economy. Large ships above a specified size will be included in the infrastructure harmonized master list. Shipbuilding clusters will be facilitated to increase the range, categories, and capacity of ships. This will include additional infrastructure, facilities, skilling, and technology to develop the entire ecosystem. Maritime Development Fund For long-term financing for the maritime industry, a maritime development fund with a corpus of 25,000 crore rupees will be set up. This will be for distributed support and promoting competition. This will have up to 49% contribution by the government, and the balance will be mobilized from ports and from private sector. UDAN regional connectivity schemes. UDAN has enabled 1.5 crore middle-class people to meet their aspirations for speedy travel. The scheme has connected 88 airports, and operationalized 619 routes. Inspired by that success, a modified UDAN scheme will be launched to enhance regional connectivity to 120 new destinations and carry 4 crore passengers in the next 10 years. 4 crore additional passengers in the next 10 years. This also support helipads and smaller airports in hilly, aspirational and northeast regional districts. Greenfield airports will be facilitated in Bihar to meet the future needs of the state. These will be in addition to the expansion of the capacity of Patna Airport and a brownfield airport in Beta. Western Kosi Canal project in Mithilanchal. Financial support will be provided for the Western Kosi Canal ERM project, benefiting a large number of farmers, cultivating over 50,000 hectares of land in the Mithilanchal region of Bihar. Mining sector reforms, including those for minor minerals, will be encouraged through sharing of best practices and institutions of a state mining index. A policy for recovery of critical minerals from tailings will be brought out. Under the special window for affordable and mid-income housing, SWAMI, 50,000 dwelling units in stressed housing projects have been completed and keys handed over to home buyers. Another 40,000 units will be completed in 2025, further helping middle-class families who are paying EMIs on loans taken for apartments while also paying rent for their current dwellings. Building on this success, SWAMI Fund 2 will be established as a blended finance facility with contribution from the government, banks and private investors. This fund of 15,000 crore rupees will aim for expeditious completion of another 1 lakh units. PM Gati Shakti data for private sector. For firm PPPs and assisting the private sector in project planning, access to relevant data and maps from the PM Gati Shakti portal will be provided. Tourism for employment-led growth. Top 50 tourist destination sites in the country will be developed in partnership with states through a challenge mode. Land for building key infrastructure will have to be provided by the states. Hotels in these destinations will be included in the infrastructure harmonized list. The following measures will be taken for facilitating employment-led growth. Organizing intensive skill development programs for our youth, including in institutes of hospitality management. Providing mudra loans for homestays. Improving ease of travel and connectivity to tourist destinations. Providing performance-linked incentives to states for effective destination management including tourist amenities, cleanliness, and marketing efforts, and introducing streamlined e-visa facilities along with visa fee waivers for certain tourist groups. Continuing with the emphasis on places of spiritual and religious significance in the July budget, there will be a special focus on destinations related to the life and times of Lord Buddha. Medical tourism and heal in India will be promoted in partnership with the private sector, along with capacity building and easier visa norms. Investing in innovation. To implement private sector-driven research, development, and innovation initiatives announced in the July budget, I am now allocating 20,000 crore rupees for this purpose. A deep tech fund of funds will also be explored to catalyze the next generation startups as a part of this initiative. In the next 5 years, under the PM Research Fellowship Scheme, we will provide 10,000 fellowships for technological research in IITs and IISc with enhanced financial support. The second gene bank with 10 lakh germplasm lines will be set up for future food and nutritional security. This will provide conservation support to both public and private sectors for genetic resources. We will start a national geospatial mission to develop foundational geospatial infrastructure and data. Using PM Gati Shakti, this mission will facilitate modernization of land records, urban planning, and design of infrastructure projects. A Gyan Bharatam mission for survey, documentation, and conservation of our manuscript heritage with academic institutions, museums, libraries, and private collectors will be undertaken to cover more than 1 crore manuscripts. We will set up a national digital repository of Indian knowledge systems for knowledge sharing. Now I move to exports as the fourth engine. We will set up an export promotion mission with sectoral and ministerial targets driven jointly by the Ministries of Commerce, MSME, and Finance. It will facilitate easy access to export credit, cross-border factoring support, support to MSMEs to tackle non-tariff measures in overseas markets. A digital public infrastructure, Bharat Trade Net, for international trade will be set up, a unified platform for trade documentation and financing solutions. This will complement the Unified Logistics Interface platform. The BTN will be aligned with international practices. Support will be provided to develop domestic manufacturing capacities for our economy's integration with global supply chains. Sectors will be identified based on objective criteria. Facilitation groups with participation of senior officers and industry representatives will be formed for select products and supply chains. Through this, there are huge opportunities related to Industry 4.0, which needs high skills and talent. Our youth have both. Our government will support the domestic electronic equipment industry to leverage this opportunity for the benefit of our youth. A national framework will be formulated as guidance to states for promoting global capability centers in emerging Tier 2 cities. This will suggest measures for enhancing availability of talent and infrastructure, building bylaw reforms, and mechanisms for collaboration with industry. Our government will facilitate upgradation of infrastructure and warehousing for air cargo, including high-value perishable horticultural produce. Cargo screening and customs protocol will be streamlined and made user-friendly. Reforms as the fuel. Over the past 10 years, our government has implemented several reforms for convenience of taxpayers, such as faceless assessment, 2, taxpayer charter, 3, faster returns, 4, almost 99% returns being on self-assessment, and 5, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Continuing these efforts, I reaffirm the commitment of the Tax Department to trust first, scrutinize later. I also propose to introduce the new income tax bill next week. I will detail the indirect tax reforms and changes in direct taxes in Part B. Financial sector reforms. The FDI limit for the insurance sector will be raised from 74 to 100%. This enhanced limit will be available for those companies which invest the entire premium in India. The current guardrails and conditionalities associated with foreign investment will be reviewed and simplified. The services of India Post Payment Bank will be deepened and expanded in rural areas. NABFID will set up a partial credit enhancement facility for corporate bonds for infrastructure. Public sector banks will develop Grameen Credit Score Framework to serve the credit needs of SHG members and people in rural areas. A forum for regulatory coordination and development of pension products will be set up. To implement the earlier announcement on simplifying the KYC processes, the revamped Central KYC Registry will be rolled out in 2025. We will also implement a streamlined system for periodic updating. Requirements and procedures for speedy approval of company mergers will be rationalized. The scope for fast-track mergers will also be widened and the process made simpler. As proposed in the interim budget, we signed bilateral investment treaties with 2 countries in 2024 to encourage sustained foreign investment, and in the spirit of First Develop India, the current model BIT will be revamped and made more investor-friendly. In the last 10 years, in several aspects, including financial and non-financial, our government has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to ease of doing business. We are determined to ensure that our regulations must keep up with technological innovations and global policy developments. A light-touch regulatory framework based on principles and trust will unleash productivity and employment. Through this framework, we will update regulations that were made under old laws. To develop this modern, flexible, people-friendly, and trust-based regulatory framework appropriate for the 21st century, I propose 4 specific measures. A high-level committee for regulatory reforms will be set up for a review of all non-financial sector regulations, certifications, licenses, and permissions. The committee will be expected to make recommendations within a year. The objective is to strengthen trust-based economic governance and take transformational measures to enhance ease of doing business, especially in matters of inspection and compliances. States will be encouraged to join in this endeavor. An investment friendliness index of states will be launched in 2025 to further the spirit of competitive, cooperative federalism. Under the Financial Stability and Development Council, a mechanism will be set up to evaluate impact of the current financial regulations and subsidiary instructions. It will also formulate a framework to enhance their responsiveness and development of the financial sector. In the Jan Vishwas Act 2023, more than 180 legal provisions were decriminalized. Our government will now bring up the Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0 to decriminalize more than 100 provisions in various laws. I now move to fiscal policy. In the July budget, I had committed to staying the course for fiscal consolidation. Our endeavor will be to keep the fiscal deficit each year such that central government debt remains on a declining path as a percentage of the GDP. The roadmap for the next 6 years has been detailed in the FRBM statement. Revised estimates for 2024-25. The revised estimate of the total receipts other than borrowings is 31.47 lakh crore rupees, of which the net tax receipts are 25.57 lakh crore rupees. The revised estimate of the total expenditure is 47.16 lakh crore rupees, of which the capital expenditure is about 10.18 lakh crore rupees. The revised estimate of the fiscal deficit is 4.8% of the GDP. Budget estimates for 25-26. Coming to 25-26, the total receipts other than borrowings and total expenditure are estimated at 34.96 lakh crore rupees and 50.65 lakh crore rupees respectively. The net tax receipts are estimated at 28.37 lakh crore rupees. The fiscal deficit is estimated to be 4.4% of GDP. To finance the fiscal deficit, the net market borrowings from dated securities are estimated at 11.54 lakh crore. The balance financing is expected to come from small savings and other sources. The gross market borrowings are estimated at 14.82 lakh crore rupees. I will now move to Part B. Indirect taxes. My proposals relating to customs aim to rationalize tariff structure and address duty inversion. These will also support domestic manufacturing and value addition, promote exports, facilitate trade, and provide relief to common people. Rationalization of customs tariff structure for industrial goods. As a part of comprehensive review of customs rate structure announced in July 2024 budget, I propose to 1. Remove 7 tariff rates. This is over and above the 7 tariff rates removed in 23-24 budget. After this, there will be only 8 remaining tariff rates, including 0 rate. 2. Apply appropriate cess to broadly maintain effective duty incidence, except on a few items where such incidence will reduce marginally. 3. Levy not more than 1 cess or surcharge. Therefore, I propose to exempt social welfare surcharge on 82 tariff lines that are subject to a cess. I shall now take up sector-specific proposals. To provide relief to patients, particularly those suffering from cancer, rare diseases, and other severe chronic diseases, I propose to add 36 life-saving drugs and medicines to the list of medicines fully exempted from basic custom duty. I also propose to add 6 life-saving medicines to the list attracting concessional custom duty of 5%. Full exemption and concessional duty will also respectively apply on the bulk drugs for manufacture of the above. Specified drugs and medicines under patient assistance programs run by the pharmaceutical companies are fully exempt from BCD, provided the medicines are supplied free of cost to the patients. I propose to add 37 more medicines along with 13 new patient assistance programs. Support to domestic manufacturing and value addition. Critical minerals. In the July 2024 budget, I had fully exempted BCD on 25 critical minerals that are not domestically available. I had also reduced BCD of 2 other such minerals to provide a major fillip to their processing, especially by MSMEs. Now, I propose to fully exempt cobalt powder and waste, the scrap of lithium-ion battery, lead, zinc, and 12 more critical minerals. This will help secure their availability for manufacturing in India and promote more jobs for our youth. To promote domestic production of technical textile products such as agro-textiles, medical textiles, and geotextiles at competitive prices, I propose to add 2 more types of shuttle-less looms to the list of fully exempted textile machinery. I also propose to revise the BCD rate on knitted fabrics covered by 9 tariff lines from 10 or 20 to 20% or 115 rupees per kg, whichever is higher. Electronic goods. In line with our Make in India policy and to rectify inverted duty structure, I propose to increase the BCD on interactive flat panel display from 10% to 20% and reduce the BCD to 5% on open cell and other components. In 23-24 budget, for the manufacture of open cells of LCD, LED TVs, I had reduced the BCD on parts of open cells from 5% to 2.5%. To further boost the manufacture of such open cells, the BCD on these parts will now stand exempted. Lithium-ion battery. To the list of exempted capital goods, I propose to add 35 additional capital goods for EV battery manufacturing and 28 additional capital goods for mobile phone battery manufacturing. This will boost domestic manufacture of lithium-ion batteries, both for mobile phones and for electric vehicles. Shipping sector. Considering that shipbuilding has a long gestation period, I propose to continue the exemption of BCD on raw materials, components, consumables, or parts for the manufacture of ships for another 10 years. I also propose the same dispensation for shipbreaking to make it more competitive. Telecommunication. To prevent classification disputes, I propose to reduce the BCD from 20% to 10% on carrier-grade Ethernet switches to make it at par with non-carrier-grade Ethernet switches. Export promotion. To facilitate exports of handicrafts, I propose to extend the time period for export from 6 months to 1 year, further extendable by another 3 months if required. I also propose to add 9 items to the list of duty-free inputs. Leather sector. I propose to fully exempt BCD on wet blue leather to facilitate imports for domestic value addition and employment. I also propose to exempt crust leather from 20% export duty to facilitate exports by small tanners. Marine products. To enhance India's competitiveness in the global seafood market, I propose to reduce BCD from 30% to 5% on frozen fish paste, surimi, for manufacture and export of its analog products. I also propose to reduce BCD from 15% to 2% on fish hydrolysates for manufacture of fish and shrimp feed. In July 2024 budget, to promote development of domestic MROs for aircraft and ships, I had extended the time limit for export of foreign origin goods that were imported for repairs from 6 months to 1 year and further extendable by 1 year. I now propose to extend the same dispensation for railway goods. Time limit for provisional assessment. Presently, the Customs Act 1962 does not provide any time limit to finalize provisional assessments, leading to uncertainty and cost to trade. As a measure of promoting ease of doing business, I propose to fix a time limit of 2 years, extendable by a year, for finalizing the provisional assessment. I propose to introduce a new provision that will enable importers or exporters, after clearance of goods, to voluntarily declare material facts and pay duty with interest but without penalty. This will incentivize voluntary compliance. However, this will not apply in cases where department has already initiated audit or investigation proceedings. For industry to better plan their imports, I propose to extend the time limit for the end use of imported inputs in the relevant rules from 6 months to 1 year. This will provide operational flexibility in view of cost and uncertainty of supply. Further, such importers will now have to file only quarterly statements instead of a monthly statement. I now come to my direct tax proposals. In Part A, I have briefly underlined taxation reforms as one of key reforms to realize our vision of Vikasit Bharat. In respect of criminal law, our government had earlier ushered in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, replacing Bharatiya Danda Sanhita. I am happy to inform this august House and the country that for new income tax bill will carry forward the same spirit of Nyaya in its drafting as well. The new bill will be clear and direct in text, with close to half of the present law in terms of both chapters and words. It will be simple to understand for taxpayers and tax administrators, leading to tax certainty and reduced litigation. Reforms, however, are not a destination. They are means to achieve good governance for our people and economy. Providing good governance primarily involves being responsive. The Tirukkural captures this in verse 542, which reads, "Vaanokki vaazhum ulagallam, mannavan kol nokki vaazhum kudi," meaning, just as the living beings live expecting rains, citizens live expecting good governance. Our government is committed to keeping an ear to the ground and a finger on the pulse and responding while balancing our national building efforts. The following measures will detail just how our government will, under the guidance of PM Modi, has taken steps to understand and address. I repeat that sentence, sir. The following measures will detail just how our government, under the guidance of PM Modi, has taken steps to understand and address the needs voiced by our citizens. My tax proposals are guided by this spirit. The objectives of my proposals are as follows. personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class, rationalization of TDS and TCS for easing difficulties, encouraging voluntary compliance, reducing compliance burden, ease of doing business, employment and investment. I will come to my proposal on personal income tax towards the end. TDS and TCS, rationalization for easing difficulties. I propose to rationalize tax deduction at source, TDS, by reducing the number of rates and thresholds above which TDS is deducted. Further, threshold amounts for tax deduction will be increased for better clarity and uniformity. The limit for tax deduction on interest for senior citizens is being doubled from the present 50,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees. Similarly, the annual limit of 2.40 lakh rupees for TDS on rent is being increased to 6 lakh rupees. This will reduce the number of transactions liable to TDS, thus benefiting small taxpayers receiving small payments. The threshold to collect tax at source, the TCS, on remittances under RBI's liberalized remittance scheme, the LRS, is proposed to be increased from 7 lakh to 10 lakhs. I also propose to remove TCS on remittances for education purposes, where such remittances is out of a loan taken from a specified financial institution. Both TDS and TCS are being applied on any transaction related to sale of goods. To prevent such compliance difficulties, I propose to omit the TCS. I also propose that the provisions of the higher TDS deduction will now apply only in non-PAN cases. In July 2024, the delay for payment of TDS up to the due date of filing statement was decriminalized. I propose to provide the same relaxation to TCS provisions as well. The government under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi believes in Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas. In line with this, we brought in our updated return facility in 2022 for voluntary compliance by taxpayers who had omitted to report their correct income. Our trust in taxpayers was proved right. Nearly 90 lakh taxpayers voluntarily updated their incomes by paying additional tax. Taking this trust further, I now propose to extend the time limit to file updated returns for any assessment year from the current limit of 2 years to 4 years. I propose to reduce the compliance burden for small charitable trusts and institutions by increasing their period of registration from 5 years to 10 years. It is also proposed that disproportionate consequences do not arise for minor defaults, such as incomplete applications filed by charitable entities. Presently, taxpayers can claim the annual value of self-occupied properties as nil only on the fulfillment of certain conditions. Considering the difficulties faced by taxpayers, it is proposed to allow the benefit of 2 such self-occupied properties without any condition. To streamline the process of transfer pricing and to provide an alternative to yearly examination, I propose to introduce a scheme for determining arm's length price of international transaction for a block period of 3 years. This will be in line with global best practices. With a view to reduce litigation and provide certainty in international taxation, the scope of safe harbor rules is being expanded. A number of senior and very senior citizens have very old national savings schemes accounts. As interest is no longer payable on such accounts, I propose to exempt withdrawals made from NSS by individuals on or after 29th August 2024. I am also proposing to allow similar treatment to NPS Vatsalya accounts as is available to normal NPS accounts subject to overall limits. In my speech in July 2024, I had promised that all processes, including giving effect to appellate orders, shall be digitalized and made paperless over the next 2 years. So I'm happy to announce that digitalization is being made operational now. In July 2024, we brought in the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme to resolve income tax disputes pending in appeal. The scheme has received a great response, with nearly 33,000 taxpayers having availed of the scheme to settle their disputes. I have a few proposals to promote investment and employment. It is proposed to provide a presumptive taxation regime for non-residents who provide services to a resident company that is establishing or operating an electronics manufacturing facility. I further propose to introduce a safe harbor for tax certainty for non-residents who store components for supply to specified electronics manufacturing units. Presently, the tonnage tax scheme is available only to sea-going ships. The benefits of existing tonnage tax scheme are proposed to be extended to inland vessels registered under the Indian Vessels Act 2021 to promote inland water transport in the country. Extension for incorporation of startups. We continue to support the Indian startup ecosystem. I propose to extend the period of incorporation by 5 years to allow the benefit available to startups which are incorporated before 1/4/2030. In order to attract and promote additional activities in the IFSC, I am inter alia proposing specific benefits to ship leasing units, insurance offices, and treasury centers of global companies which are set up in IFSC. Further, to claim benefits, the cutoff date for commencement in IFSC has also been extended by 5 years to 31/3/2030. Category 1 and Category 2 AIFs are undertaking investments in infrastructure and other such sectors. I propose to provide certainty of taxation to these entities on the gains from securities. To promote funding from sovereign wealth funds and pension funds to the infrastructure sector, I propose to extend the date of making an investment by 5 more years up to 31st March 2030. Personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class. Democracy, demography, and demand are the key support pillars in our journey towards Vikasit Bharat. The middle class provides strength for India's growth. This government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, has always believed in the admirable energy and ability of the middle class in nation building. In recognition of their contribution, we have periodically reduced their tax burden. Right after 2014, the nil tax slab was raised to 2.5 lakhs of rupees, which was further raised to 5 lakh rupees in 2019 and to 7 lakh rupees in 2023. This is reflective of our government's trust on middle-class taxpayers. I am now happy to announce that there will be no income tax payable up to income of 12 lakh rupees. So, average income of 1 lakh per month other than the special rate income such as capital gains under the new regime. This limit will be 12.75 lakh for salaried taxpayers due to the standard deduction of 75,000. Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers. The new structure will substantially reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, savings, and investment. In the new tax regime, I propose to revise tax rate structures as follows: 0 to 4 lakh rupees nil, 4.8 lakh rupees to 4 to 8 lakh rupees 5%, 8 to 12 lakh rupees 10%, 12 to 16 lakh rupees 15%, 16 to 20 lakh rupees 20%, 20 to 24 lakh rupees 25%, and above 24 lakh rupees 30%. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of normal income other than special rate income such as capital gains. I read that again. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of income other than special rate income such as capital gains, tax rebate is being provided in addition to the benefit due to slab rate reduction in such a manner that there is no tax payable by them. The total tax benefit of slab rate changes and rebate at different income levels can be illustrated with a few examples. A taxpayer in the new regime with an income of 12 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 80,000 rupees in tax, which is 100% of tax payable as per the existing rates. A person having income of 18 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 70,000 rupees in tax. That is 30% of tax payable as per existing rates. A person with an income of 25 lakh gets a benefit of 1,10,000 rupees. That is 25% of his tax payable as per existing rates. Details of my tax proposals are given in the annexure. As a result of these proposals, Honorable Speaker, sir, revenue of about 1 lakh crore in direct taxes and 2,600 crores in indirect taxes will be foregone. Mr. Speaker, sir, with this, I commend the budget to this august House.
Item number 2, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table the following statements under Section 3(1) of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, 2003. Medium-term fiscal policy cum fiscal policy strategy statement and macroeconomic framework statement.
Item number 3, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to move for leave to introduce the Finance Bill 2025.
प्रश्न ये है कि विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ गए, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना गए, मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी, विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करें।
So introduce the bill.
थैंक यू। सभा की कार्रवाई सोमवार दिनांक 3 फरवरी 2025 को प्राप्त 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है।
All right, viewers, the first full budget of Modi 3.0 comes with a big bang announcement. It's a bonanza for middle-class salaried workers. Remember, there was a lot of clamor going into this budget that the relief for middle class should be there. And that's exactly what the finance minister has come out with. No income tax, till the salary of 12 lakh rupees. That's the big headline announcement that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has given, a bonanza for middle class. Beyond that, this is a growth-oriented budget. A lot of growth focus is there, one can see along the way, whether it is with regard to deregulation, whether it is in regard to putting in more infrastructure in place. But the big bang announcement continues to be the fact that middle class is getting the relief, the reprieve that they've been wanting, and there's been a clamor for some time. Let's get in my colleague Maria Shakil also joining me on this. Maria, something like this was expected, was on the cards, but it's a huge relief that's come in, something that the BJP government has been sort of wanting to also respond to for some time.
Yes, that's right. And the finance minister, they are saying that this is for boosting consumption, much more that is needed. And that is the reason why that this tax relief up to 12 lakh, which is huge for the middle class coming in. And if you look at it, taxpayers certainly would be very, very, cheerful, because this would mean that they can invest more, they can save more, and at the same time that there'll be more circulation of money in the markets as well. So certainly, Gauri, as we have been anticipating, does the government have elbow room? Yes, the government had that elbow room, but it required political intent. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman showing clearly that when it is about sending a message to the middle class, they're standing firmly with them. And let's not miss the fact that only yesterday the Prime Minister had signaled that there could be some generosity from, Goddess Lakshmi for the middle class in particular, and so it has come. But I think what Finance Minister said in the context of democracy, demographic, and also the larger question of demand, she said that these are the three pillars on which Viksit Bharat will be built. And that is the reason why I think these three D words or three big takeaways, I would say, of Budget 2025.
Indeed, Maria, indeed, democracy, demand and demography is what she said on, and which in fact reflects in the budget focus as well. There is a lot of focus on pushing manufacturing. There's a lot of focus on, in fact, creating a Make in India 2.0, so to say, and along with that, pushing in additional consumption. There's going to be a tax forego of about 1 lakh crore rupees, but the sense one gets is more than that would be made up in terms of additional consumption. Let me, in fact, also get you in on the other political aspects of this budget. Political aspects of this budget, we're going to come to it in just a bit. One heard a lot of Bihar also in the budget. But first, let's also get in my colleague Sunil Prabhu, who's been standing by in Parliament to really give us a sense of the jubilation one saw on the floor of the House from the Treasury benches, one that even the opposition benches had to join in. Sunil, talk to us about the impact and the import of the most important announcement, which is the relief for middle class.
Well, for us on NDTV, we were the first to say that there will be a separate new income tax act. Right from 2 days ago to even this morning, we've been saying that there will be a new income tax act. This is called the new version of the direct tax code, simpler language, simpler forms, simple for the middle class. So that's a big step forward, and it will be introduced before Parliament goes into recess. Having said that, the most important aspect, as you rightly point out, and has been said, this is, of course, the import for why Nirmala Sitharaman herself gave away. Household, consumption has to increase. That's something that needs to be done, and that is why they're given this big fill-up. For people who didn't understand the nitty-gritties, she said for 12 lakh and above, if you earn 12 lakhs, you will pay no income tax. That is under the new tax regime. So it's under that context that this whole thing is playing out. This will definitely have a major impact for the Delhi elections, as well as for the coming few months, to help probably India increase its growth, which is really defaulting at present.
Absolutely. And, Sunil, I'm going to come back to you in just a bit, but before I get in Sakshi as well, who is at the CII, to get a word from all the top honchos, let's just quickly tell our viewers the fact that it is not just that 12 lakhs is the exemption. The FM mentioned more than once decriminalization when it comes to taxes. She mentioned simplification of taxes, and the reprieve up to 12 lakh rupees. It's the three things, all three of them put together is the kind of relief that is in place for taxpayers. Let's now get in Sakshi, who's standing by to get a word from CII, the top honchos of India Inc., on what they feel about this budget.
Budget 2025 has been announced, and NDTV brings you the 360-degree coverage and analysis of Budget 2025. A budget looking at the poor, the middle class, the salaried class, and of course, the big ask this time was the income tax relief, which the finance minister has just ended with as part of her announcement. Now, to decode this budget further, I'm joined by Vinaya Chatterjee, someone who looks at the infrastructure space very closely, Nasir Salim, someone who's tracking stock markets, which have jumped right after this income tax announcement, really. And of course, Vivek Gupta, partner at Deloitte India. Thank you all for your time. Vivek Gupta, the income tax relief, really the big ask this time across the board. NDTV spoke to citizens, economists, analysts, market experts even. And this, of course, budget catering to the middle class and the salaried class very, very clearly now.
No, that's absolutely true. I think if I were to summarize this budget in two words, the two words are consumption and investment. And the tax cuts really point to the fact that the finance minister is looking at boosting urban consumption. So a bunch of stuff done there, getting to a point where income up to 12 lakhs is fully exempt. For salaried taxpayers, together with the standard deduction, getting up to 12.75 lakhs. Significant relaxations on the TDS and TCS side, I think puts lots more money in the hands of the middle class, and that boosts urban consumption. So yes, from a tax rate perspective, certainly positive from the government.
A big positive from the government. Vinaya Chatterjee, your first thoughts, a budget that is looking at being pro-poor and pro-middle class then?
I will restrict my comments to the infrastructure sector. There has been a very strong signaling in this budget that the historical trend of the last 10 years, from 2014 onwards, that used very high levels of allocation for the infrastructure sector to pump prime economic growth has effectively been delinked from this budget. There has been, in her budget speech, there has been no mention of the word infrastructure, no mention of road, rail, and various other hard infrastructure allocations have not even been mentioned. And therefore, as I said, infrastructure is no more being used as an engine for pump priming economic growth. At the same time, the budget has a major sprinkling of very good specific initiatives on infrastructure for specific sectors, including, for example, extending the sunset clause for sovereign funds and the pension funds up to for the next 5 years. And I'm not going into detail now, but whether it is new airports or whether it is interventions on credit enhancement by NABFID, etc., there is a wide variety of very positive and specific, shall we say, facilities and incentives for different sectors of infra. And these are my two broad takes right now.
Right, Nasir Salim, specific sectors being addressed. We heard a lot being announced for medical, the healthcare and medical sector as well. And markets, of course, jumping soon after the income tax announcement then.
Absolutely, Sakshi. 3-4 key points on sectors. I think the agri sector looks pretty interesting now on account of reforms to support agriculture, farmers. I think the point on self-reliance on pulses does bode well. The other quick one is, I think both my panelists just said about CapEx, big boost for Bihar in particular. But, the 1.5 lakh crore for 50-year interest-free loans for states for CapEx seems to be also doing well in terms of the push. What we need to see now, of course, is it needs to, come down to execution, even by the states. The other one in continuation is pharma. I think the entire space looks a little more, it's a little net positive before the budget. Now it's looking a little more positive because they've, too early to say anything. I have to yet to go through the list, but 36 life-saving drugs have been exempted from basic customs duty. So I think that is that seems to be will boost earnings for pharmaceutical companies. I think the other big one, of course, as we broke before the budget announcements was on income tax slabs. And I had mentioned to you clearly that we're looking at that being anticipated in the announcement. So no income tax up to 12 lakhs is a big boost for consumption. I think, we saw GST numbers and consumption slowing down. In 31st December numbers, I think those should start to pick up. I think the other quick one is infra, asset monetization.
Right.
Those are very key, important aspects which should support
Lots
certain
of crucial
sectors.
and announcements. And of course, we will decode the fine print as well. We have Rahul Ahluwalia also joining us. He is the co-founder of the Foundation for Economic Development. Thank you for your time. Purchasing power, really, and more disposable income at hand. This was the key ask. Do you think the finance minister has delivered on that?
I mean, on that, definitely, right? I think the reduction in tax slabs across the board definitely makes domestic consumption higher, but I would actually like to draw your attention to how they've made exports easier, right? Because the domestic market, if you look at our GDP as domestic market is 3.5 trillion, the export potential is 50, 60, 70 trillion, right? So I think that's where we should set our sights. And from there are a couple of very encouraging things in this budget, right? Duty rationalization makes it so we have to remember that taxes on imports are taxes on exports, right? So rationalization of taxes on imports is very important for boosting our exports. They've done that. So we should give praise where it's due. One very interesting thing that they've done, it sounds like a minor thing, but actually it could be a game changer, is this safe harbor extension for electronics manufacturing and storage, right? That's a specific provision that has been preventing very large players from making India a hub for global manufacturing. Because what it does is it opens up international entities to tax claims from Indian authorities. They have now said that they will provide safe harbor for this, right? So it really makes India a much more attractive destination for electronic sourcing. So we already had some momentum going. I do think that this is a positive movement for that too. I'll pass it back to you. There are other things, but we can...
Right. Vivek Gupta, also the finance minister, very clearly giving that startup push and encouraging women entrepreneurs as well. A key ask again. Something, of course, further ease of doing business was a key ask. You think that too is a big hit?
Look, the whole emphasis, as I said, is on fresh investments in the economy. He spoke about the extension of the sunset clause for sovereign and pension funds. I think that's a big one. Our estimate is they've opened it up for one full new cycle of 5 years, and they've said the exemption for sovereign and pension funds now goes up to 31st March 2030. The Deloitte assessment on this was this should open up at least $30 to $35 billion of foreign investment. Our working was 4 years is roughly about 28 billion. So this means $30 to $35 billion of fresh FDI into the economy in targeted sectors by investors who are long-term investors, sovereign and pension funds. So look at how cleverly the budget is done. On the one side, you're putting more money in the hands of consumers by cutting down tax rates, by pushing agriculture and therefore rural consumption demand. On the other side, to complete the virtuous cycle, as Vinayak said, without doing too much English on the word infrastructure, you have a bunch of interesting things happening there. And you're opening up, let's say, $30 to $35 billion in infra, pushing up the government's asset monetization plan. So it is, for the first time, a very, let's say, a very here and now immediate budget. The finance minister also said that there will be a new income tax bill in the next week. While the substantive provisions, I think, have been announced, but this new bill will further ease doing business. She said it'll be half the number of words, half the number of sections. I don't know whether that means more work for us or less. But if it's a slimmer income tax law, hopefully this whole concept of trust first and scrutinize later that the Prime Minister Modi government has stood for is something that gets carried forward in that bill.
Right.
So I would say hugely positive, both from a consumption and investment story standpoint.
Right.
And your point on startups is just feeds into that. Investment in various sectors of the economy.
Investment in various sectors of the economy. Nasir Salim, economy-sensitive stocks then. Let's talk about housing and auto. Electric vehicles also found a key mention there. Your first thoughts on how that was addressed?
I think, I wouldn't get into specific of stocks, but sectors broadly, I'm just looking now, Sakshi, and we see the FMCG index up 3% as we discussing this. In automobiles, we see some of the larger names up 6%, which is a big thumbs up to this entire consumption, broadly going up. And I think, look, the point is that we had to address the middle income group, right? They are the supporters of tax collections. We've been repeatedly saying this, that, we've done, the other quick point I said before we got into the discussion was corporate profits have gone up for FY24, all-time high. Real wages have come down. So we're hoping that with some of these changes, even on the rural economy side, income levels should start to pick up there, and which will again support this entire consumption theme. So, in a nutshell, I would say this budget looks at the middle income group, supporting the right policies for growth for them, and I think, liquidity injection, indirectly or directly through, tax slabs, rationalization, will support the narrative ahead.
Right, liquidity injection, liquidity boost. Vinay Chatterjee, do you agree in particular with the capital expenditure target and of course infrastructure? We're not talking about just infrastructure today. We're also living in times where we are talking about quality infrastructure.
Okay. So a huge thumbs up now coming in from the CII. The industry certainly cheering the new budget of 2025. Let's listen in to the reactions which have started coming in. Gati Shakti, Congress MP, has spoken. Let's listen in.
Mr. Chidambaram, what do you think of today's budget? It's been seen as giving major relief to the middle class.
The budget speech itself can't be based on making an assessment. One needs to look at the details before one makes an assessment of it. Many schemes have been announced, but one needs to understand whether these schemes are an add-on to the previous schemes announced in the previous budgets of the same government last year, and what is the status of those schemes. So one really can't make an assessment merely by listening to the finance minister's brief speech.
But is it better than last year's?
I mean, there seems to be an intent to help a certain sections, but I have to see whether it actually translates to some sort of material difference in their finances. And I can only make that assessment after I look at the details.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chidambaram, what do you...
Okay, so the big takeaway certainly is the tax exemptions which have come in, and the opposition there saying that it's implementation which is important, not announcement. Politics of budget will be discussed in just a bit, but Gauri, loop in here as we take up this discussion forward with the studio guests who are joining us. Gauri Puri continues to be with us. We have Riaz Thinga, who is the partner, Direct Tax, Grant Thornton. We also have Shashank Gupta, Senior Director, MAG Tax Advice. Riaz, beginning with you, I mean, what kind of impact do you think it will have, particularly the kind of tax relief which has come in? Because, for years, economists and policymakers had been suggesting that this is needed because India's problem is largely demand side. And now that demand will increase if the middle class has more money in its hands.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think most of the asks that we had have been kind of addressed. On one side, increasing consumption by putting more money in the hands of the middle class. I think that has been addressed extremely well. On the simplification side, rationalization side, we've seen on one hand, announcement that the new tax code will be coming in within a week. That's a great big announcement. A big ask and reduction on the number of TDS sections and rationalization of rates there. That has also been addressed. So I think overall, most of the asks have been taken care of.
Indeed. In fact, if we were to just club some of these very important announcements, all of them related to direct tax, whether it is the remittances aspect, the rent aspect, the education relief that's now going to be given till about 10 lakhs. Add to it, of course, the fact that now there's going to be a simplified tax code till 12 lakh rupees. What is the kind of total impact, if we can do some back of the envelope calculations in terms of what is the kind of immediate relief, Gauri, that we are looking at here for the middle class, for the salaried? Gauri Puri.
No, so I think that, the government has kept its ear on the ground. Just before we went into the budget and we were listening to the finance minister's speech, it was all about, the government needs to spur consumption in the face of slowing economic growth, and it's just done that. So if you see the finance minister's announcement, what they've done through a series of reduction in the slab rates and the tax rebate, an individual who is earning up to 12 lakhs would not be paying any taxes at all. And I think that by giving more money in the hands of people, not only through reducing tax rate, but also rationalizing the entire TDS regime by increasing thresholds, by making sure that there are a lot of payments that don't even go under the TDS space, you will give more cash flow to the people. That should spur consumption and in turn economic growth. And I think everybody will benefit from a more simplified tax regime as we go forward.
Okay, a lot of reactions coming in. In fact, a lot of opposition leaders have spoken out. Let's listen in.
Especially the Delhi election coming on the 5th of this month. The finance minister has given a big exemption saying that for 12 lakhs, there's no tax. Then she goes on to say that there's a slab of 8 to 12 lakhs, there's 10%. So it's very, very confusing. I think the devil's in the details. She claims, she tries to promise to the voters that are no tax, they are exempted for tax till 12 lakhs. But there is not a very simple, straightforward thing. They have to claim in TDS and all this thing, provided they have those benefits alone. Can you claim that 0% tax for 12 lakhs? So basically, once again, it's a letdown for the middle class. The middle class seems to be again been cheated by the finance minister again. And then again,
बजट है, अगर हम इसको 12वां मान लें, 11वां मान लें, 12 साल बाद कुंभ आता है। जो सरकार को आंकड़े देने चाहिए थे, हमारे लिए आज बजट के आंकड़ों से ज्यादा जरूरी है कि जिन लोगों की जान गई है वो आंकड़े। जो सरकार मरने वालों का आंकड़ा न दे सके, जो सरकार खोए लोगों का आंकड़ा न दे सके, जो खोया पाया केंद्र है उसमें बड़ी संख्या में लोग भटक रहे हैं। कुंभ में लोग अपने मोबाइल पे अपने परिवार के सदस्यों की तस्वीर लेकर के, कोई अपनी माँ की तस्वीर लेकर के, कोई अपने बेटे की तस्वीर लेकर के, कोई अपने परिवार के सदस्य की तस्वीर लेकर के कुंभ में लोग भटक रहे हैं, लेकिन सरकार उसकी जानकारी के लिए कोई इंतजाम नहीं किया है। जो आंकड़े बताए जा रहे हैं जान जाने के, वो झूठे आंकड़े हैं। जिस सरकार को 17 घंटे से ज्यादा लग गया हो जानकारी देने के लिए कि वहां पर भगदड़ हुई है, लोगों की जान गई है, और जब हम और आप लोग बात कर रहे हैं 100 घंटे से ज्यादा हो जाएंगे लोग जो।
Well, joining with us is Priyanka Chaturvedi. Ma'am, how do you rate the budget just presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman?
I'm not into ratings, but all I will say is that people of the country have finally been heard by the Finance Minister, especially the middle class, which had been repeatedly asking for some relief, some tax burden relief, because their salaries were not increasing while their tax burden was increasing. Inflation was ensuring that they had no savings left, no investment opportunities left for them. That has been taken care of or heard of, and we're hoping that in the coming times she will continue to hear the voices of the people and do things which will push the economy forward, push the savings and investments of the people.
Ma'am, why you have been saying that this budget was more concentrated on states like Bihar?
No, I'm not saying that. It is the finance minister's focus on Bihar, and I would say that people of Bihar would be hoping that every year there is an election for some reason or the other, because that is the only time the focus is on the state of Bihar. However, whatever projects that have been given to Bihar, I welcome them, and I hope Bihar continues towards a more focused, developed, contributing economical state for the country.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
सबसे ज़्यादा तो स्टेटों के नाम देखिए, बिहार जहाँ पे चोन आ रही है, बिहार बिहार बिहार, उसके बाद असम की आ रही है तो असम, पंजाब का तो नामो निशानी है। वो किसान धरने में बैठे 4 साल से एमएसपी की लीगल गारंटी के लिए। किसान के लिए क्या मखाना बोर्ड, ये बोर्ड, वो बोर्ड, सो किसानों के विरुद्ध एक बजट था, और किसान जो उसके लिए लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं उनकी तो कुछ सुनी नहीं गई, तो दुख है।
Shravi is also joining us. He is the former chairman of Bombay Stock Exchange. What do you think is the big takeaway according to you? I mean, what do you think will be the big headline of this budget of Nirmala Sitharaman?
So this is one budget which has given instant relief to middle class. That's the first thing. Second, there is simplification, rationalization, and it's a progressive budget. So if I have to sum it up, this is the 4 words I would use. It has given some instant relief. It has rationalized duties. There is a simplification which will come in the new tax regime that will come, next tax code that will come. And also what you have seen is structural changes. For example, agriculture and export. If you look at agriculture and export, the focus on pulses, cotton, etc., urea, all this is going to have long-term effect. And the structural part is also equally important. So this is a combination of structural, and simplification, and also giving instant relief. So it's a very, very balanced budget in my view.
Okay, let's also get in a view in terms of the impact this will have in terms of the overall finances of the government, and then we touch upon some of the other aspects of the other announcements. Mr. Riaz, let me bring you in here in terms of, well, you know, you're putting out for our viewers the slabs that have now been put in place. A new income tax bill will be tabled next week. In your assessment, how do you see the overall picture for taxation, for middle class, for the salaried here? I also talked to you about the fact that in terms of the direct tax mop-ups, there is now a significant increase that's also been budgeted in for the next year. So the government hopes there will going to be more consumption going forward with the relief that will come in.
Sure. I think we should look at the budget in its holistic manner. On one hand, we are talking about tax reliefs, putting more money in the hands of the middle class, which will boost consumption. On the other hand, there have been targeted investments, targeted expenses to boost the manufacturing sector, AI, technology, EVs and nuclear power, etc., which in turn is definitely going to spur the economy, grow the business as a whole, and I think it should balance out in a way by increasing employment, increasing consumption, and therefore having greater taxes collection.
In fact, there's one number that I think is very important, apart from, of course, the huge tax relief. That is the fiscal deficit number. The finance minister has been so prudent in her assessment. The fiscal deficit number for this year is 4.8%, and she's budgeted it to be 4.4% for next year, which means there's not going to be any slip up when it comes to ensuring that the government finances remain in place. And why it matters to our viewers, why it matters to everybody, is because if the government remains frugal, what it means is that inflation remains under control, cost of living remains under control, which impacts everybody. So that's the reason why this number is extremely important as well, the 4.4% on fiscal deficit. Should we get in, Mr. Ravi, on the big picture numbers in terms of the macro numbers that the government has put out? Mr. Ravi?
As you rightly mentioned, fiscal prudence. So, because see, next year is going to be the pay commission, 2026. So there was a lot of talk about how will we manage the fiscal deficit, because that is one key aspect that was looking like a challenge. But with fine numbers, which will of course emerge as we read the fine print. But this number 4.4 is a great achievement, considering all what has been put in the budget. So on one side you have tax reliefs, on the other side fiscal prudence, and other side you have long-term capex and development in terms of agriculture, EV, exports, and manufacturing. So I think if you look at all these together, the numbers are looking very good. So that is what I have to say, because capex wise also this will bring in a lot of capex. It will also bring in rural economy into play. So if you look at the rural, the inflation and the urban inflation, there was a difference there. And I think rural and agricultural, sort of focus was going to help us to build a strong rural India. That is what I have to say.
Okay, Shashank, come in now, in terms of income tax reforms, because, all the headlines in the papers tomorrow perhaps will be that, and there'll be a lot of discussion around it. No tax up to the income of 12 lakh rupees, a limit of TDS on rent up from 2.4 lakh to 6 lakhs, TDS limit on interest to senior citizens up from 50,000 to 1 lakh, time limit for updated returns extended to 4 years. I mean, this will be seen as a defining moment in terms of tax reforms.
Well, no doubt about it. And I think in the coming week, when the new income tax bill also detailed and is brought in public domain, I think it will only add to the list. What I would also like to add to this present discussion, that while certainly the income tax changes are being the main highlight of the budget, let us also consider that similar rationalization and simplification has also been announced in the customs laws, which will also help and enable Make in India, which will also open the doors, simplify for cross-border trade, facilitate exports, as well as investment in India. I think another very important factor is that for the insurance sector, 100% foreign investment is proposed to be allowed, with the only condition being that the entire premium amount should be invested in India. I think looking at it from a 360-degree perspective, I think simplification, rationalization, opening of the economy, I think it's overall a very good and positive budget.
Indeed it is, and what you're mentioning about the indirect tax rejigs that have also taken place is significant. They do impact Make in India. They also come at a time when we are trying to have difficult trade negotiations with the US and several other countries. We'll come to all of that in a bit, but I still feel the big headline, as Maria also said, continues to be the relief for the middle class. And let me get in Gauri here in the studio. I have a namesake as well, which is that, you know, when you add up all of these, the fact that this has been in the offing for a while now, you know, the pay commission announcement, ever since it came, the clamor for a relief for the taxpayers also really grew. It also grew at a time because, you know, corporate taxes as a percentage of direct taxes have gone down, meaning that it is the salaried people shouldering the growth, you know, burden or expectation of this country. How do you see this going forward in terms of the larger impact? And also, which pockets do you think it will actually impact the most? There is, of course, announcements for all of them, for students, for senior citizens, for all. Where do you see the maximum impact?
I think, like you mentioned, the middle class really feels rewarded, right? Because for a very long time, they have been sort of carrying the burden of taxes in this country because their taxes get deducted at source by, you know, by employers. What's really changed is that you've seen the government really work towards formalization of the economy in the last 10 years. And what we worked on is our tax base. So that gives them a little bit of fiscal room, but when compliance numbers increase, they can tweak around with rates and give the relief where it is needed, now that it ties in so beautifully with the broader goal of enhancing consumption. In terms of who would benefit, I think it is the individual who earns somewhere up to 12 lakhs, even from, I think, 12 to 24 lakhs. The way the government sort of given this benefit is, and I think there's conversation around, oh, but the slab rate only refers, you know, it's talking about a rate of 10%, 20%, is through the rebate. Because it is through the tax rebate, which is applied at the end, that it kind of seals which particular category, income category.
Would you like to simplify that with an example for the benefit of our viewers?
So I think, for instance, let's say that I am earning 24 lakhs or I'm earning 36 lakhs, right? I will go by the slab rate because the, and my tax will be computed through that. The rebate is applied in the end as a deduction to that tax liability to then determine what is your ultimate tax outflow. So when you deal with an individual who has, you know, let's say a salary of 10 lakhs, when you go through the slab, at the end of the day, at the end of the computation, when you apply the rebate, that's how it really turns into a zero. So through this mechanism, they're able to ensure that the benefit is passed on to certain income categories and not to high net worth individuals or individuals who may be earning like 50 lakhs or 60 lakhs, right? Their contribution needs to be more because we are a part of a progressive tax system and there needs to be equity in taxation.
Yes.
All right, Shashank, come in again, because let's focus on the slabs and how rates have changed and how will it impact our lives. So if an individual has an income of 30 lakh rupees per annum, what does it mean for him or her?
Broadly speaking, it certainly means that he would be saving on his tax outgo. Some numbers were announced by the FM while in her budget speech. I would avoid putting an exact number around it right now, but it certainly means that it would leave with some tax savings in his hands. I think the greater benefit, the highest amount of benefit will go to those who are within the 12 lakh income range. For the higher income ranges, while there will certainly be some benefit, but comparatively it would not be such a great benefit or such a differential benefit as would be the case for the individuals having income within the bracket of 0 to 12 lakh rupees.
Okay, so for the benefit of our viewers, the fact that the exemption has been increased significantly, it was about 5 lakhs, then 7 lakhs till 2023, and it has now been increased to 12 lakhs. So there's a sharp increase that has taken place in the exemption limit in line with, as Maria said, as some of the guests have been saying, expectation. But I want to ask this to you, Mr. Riaz. There's a sharp increase in the exemption limit. Of course, the back of the envelope calculations should be supporting a massive increase in consumption, right? Because from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs is a huge jump for the government. How do you see this? And were you anticipating an increase to the tune that has come in?
No, definitely not. I mean, of course, the asks have been there, but this is a very, very pleasant surprise that we have been, we've seen this kind of announcement of this magnitude by the finance minister. Having said that, when we speak about the total tax collection, maybe the impact will not be that negative in terms of terms because the benefit is going to the people with the lower threshold limits at 12 lakhs. So the larger taxpayers will continue to pay taxes almost to the extent that they've been paying. As a result, the total cost to the exchequer may not be as large as it appears from the announcement.
Okay.
All right, let's take a quick break. But before that, listen in to Naveen Jindal, what he had to say on Budget 2025.
Being joined by Naveen Jindal, BJP MP, sir. How do you rate this budget? What are your highlights?
Well, I would rate this budget 10 out of 10. It has taken care of all the sections of the society, and definitely the middle income group, is definitely going to be very, very happy because the tax slabs earlier was 7 lakh, above 7 lakh when I had to pay taxes. Now it has become 12 lakhs. Nobody had imagined. People were even talking about maybe 7 lakh would be raised to 10 lakh. It was raised to 12 lakhs, so that's something people are very, very happy about. And other than that, for MSME, this budget is really good to encourage MSME because MSME, especially our government is very, very focused on taking care of the MSME, all its aspects, so that whatever credit it needs, it is provided that. Whatever encouragement it needs, it is provided that. So that is going to be very...
Okay, so big headline continues to be and is really the relief for middle class. As we said earlier, just before listening into that conversation, that the threshold limit has gone up from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs. It is bound to lead to spending, whether it's going to be in terms of, purchase of houses or whether it's going to be more consumption, only leading into consumer durables. That is really the big game plan that the government is also really now trying to put in place to ensure that the larger impact is much positive. And let's get in Shashank Gupta on that. Shashank, I know indirect taxes are important, but as I said, how much less we are all going to pay in terms of taxes is all that matters, isn't it?
Well, certainly it does. It does to me as an individual, it does to us as a group. And I believe that is what matters most to the common man, to everyone who's there in the audience. It matters because all of us are very directly impacted by it. And let us also, I also understand that this is the clear highlight of the budget. And this was also something which has been pending for several years now. This was a demand of the medium, for the medium segment of our society since long, and was being widely expected. But I think what the government has done very outstanding in an outstanding way is the difference from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs. It is simply outstanding what they've done.
I think it is in line with expectations, as I said. and also the fact that a lot of pent-up demand pertaining to larger industries could really be kick-started now. As I said, you speak to real estate people, they say that housing demand is still something that they want to spur. This is the kind of transformative or game-changing decisions that could really kickstart that larger motion. And when we talk about budget, I think budget is about trade-offs. It's just about when you trade off a 1 lakh crore direct tax impact, what is it that you get in terms of consumption, spending that really has a multiplier effect on the economy and boosts that. Okay, so a quick final word, let's get in from Mr. Ravi also on the fact that, as I said, in 2019 it was 5 lakhs, in 2023 it became 7 lakhs, and now we're talking about 12 lakhs. That's the kind of change that in direct tax mindset that has happened within the government, and now it remains to be seen how does it reflect in the economy going forward. Mr. Ravi.
So first thing, I was also not expecting this 12 lakhs. Most people were not expecting this 12 lakhs. We were thinking that it will be at 10 lakhs. That is what we were expecting. But if you look at all the numbers together, what will be the impact on the whole sort of tax collection will be around 5%. I have not done a back-end calculation, but it will be just around 5%. So government, what it has done, this budget, what it has done by just saving that, by giving away 5 to 7%, they have actually increased consumption, and they have brought a lot of people into the sort of mode of consuming and also spending. So which is a great thing. And let us look at senior citizens also. So from a senior citizen's point, the TDS rationalization which has happened, and the TDS that they have given, and the TCS which has come for others is a great step. So all this is going to make the tax more efficient and simpler. The TDS rationalization, if you look at the slabs, it was from 0 to 30% that was the TDS slabs. So that has been totally rationalized, and I think it's a great step. It will help, the ambiguity that was there and a lot of disputes that were happening, that will be eradicated in this process. So I feel from a tax viewpoint, it's a great budget. And in all forms, it's a great budget. I would like to also add, for startup, there is something, 10,000 crores. For MSME, there is this credit
Hold your thought there,
scheme.
sir. There's a lot to talk about, and we're going to cover up all of those points that you just mentioned. But I have to take a very quick break, and we come back on the other side with our rolling coverage of Budget 2025. Stay with us.
I'm Toshiba Physical Technology, and I'm Toshiba Digital Transformation Technology. We're integrating advanced products and infrastructure with advanced analytics and the latest AI algorithms. We deliver secure, smart, and sustainable solutions that benefit society.
Finance Minister's big bonanza for the middle income group. No tax up to income of 12 lakh rupees. New tax slabs will ensure no tax up to 4 lakh rupees. Finance Minister announces 100% FT.
Kind attention. I'm Toshiba Physical Technology, and I'm Toshiba Digital Transformation Technology. We're integrating advanced products and infrastructure with advanced analytics and the latest AI algorithms. We deliver secure, smart, and sustainable solutions that benefit society. Merging digital with physical, we're building a better future.
Of 10.18 lakh crore rupees for the current year, and says that the fiscal deficit this year was at 4.8%. Politics over Budget 2025 gets underway. Opposition says that implementation is the key, not the announcement. All right, the rolling coverage of Budget 2025 continues. The Finance Minister has given a huge relief for the middle class. What all is there in terms of her red bike haita and the kind of kick-starting of the economy? We're going to try and cover all of that, but let me quickly now welcome my colleague Vasudha Venugopal in the broadcast as well.
Well, thank you, Gauri, and hello to all our viewers. So in what is being seen as a big relief to the middle class, the Finance Minister today, Nirmala Sitharaman, while presenting her 8th consecutive budget, has announced that there will be no income tax for income up till 12 lakhs per annum. And she's also said that the new tax structure which will aim at substantially reducing tax paid by middle class, will ensure taxpayers up to 12 lakh will not have to pay income tax. And in fact, taxpayer in the new regime with income of up to 12 lakh will get a benefit of 80,000 rupees in tax, while a person with an income of 18 lakh will get a benefit of 70,000 rupees. Now, of course, this is being aimed at the middle class. While Delhi elections are also coming up, the government's offerings for Bihar especially cannot be ignored. And Gauri, there have also been several other measures, including a new entrepreneur scheme for women and also several schemes for Bihar, and more importantly, a 500 crore outlay for development of AI in India, and a lot of focus on R&D in colleges, startups, deep tech. So she has announced a lot of schemes which keep youth at the center of it. In fact, at the cabinet meeting that was held for the approval of the budget, the Prime Minister said, in fact, he reiterated his aim to his Council of Ministers, saying that this is going to be for Gyan, which is, of course, Garib, Yuva, and also for the Nari Shakti, and also for youngsters of the country, and also for the farmers of the country. So that was the focus of it. In fact, the budget, the Prime Minister walked up to her and said that it was a very good budget. I just came out of the Parliament where Nirmala Sitharaman also, went to the Lok Sabha Speaker's room, and she had a chat with him. In fact, the Prime Minister and Home Minister Amit Shah also had a conversation in the Prime Minister's room, and now all ministers have started dispersing. The Finance Minister was also accompanied by her daughter today and her brother and his wife. So clearly there was a little bit of encouragement from the family. There you see the convoys of ministers going back to their offices. Today is a big day for the government, especially. Let's first listen into what the Finance Minister said, the big takeaways from the budget today.
Yes.
In recognition of their contribution, we have periodically reduced their tax burden. Right after 2014, the nil tax slab was raised to 2.5 lakhs of rupees, which was further raised to 5 lakh rupees in 2019 and to 7 lakh rupees in 2023. This is reflective of our government's trust on the middle class taxpayers. I am now happy to announce that there will be no income tax payable up to income of 12 lakh rupees. So, average income of 1 lakh per month, other than the special rate income such as capital gains, under the new regime. This limit will be 12.75 lakh for salaried taxpayers due to the standard deduction of 75,000. Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers.
Okay. Okay, there you heard the finance minister in that big relief for the middle class. Let me also rope in my colleague Saurabh, who's joining us from Kolkata. Mahalakshmi's blessings for the middle class have come, and how? Talk to us, Saurabh, about what are you picking up from people around you? Have you been able to speak to anyone? What are they saying? Were they expecting the relief to be to the tune of 12 lakh rupees?
Well, let me take that question straight away to Shashwat Goenka, Vice Chairman of the RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Shashwat, you know, this blessing of the middle class, as it's being called, how do you respond to that? How do you react to that?
I think it's a wonderful measure, and if you really look at today's budget overall, the Honorable Finance Minister presented something that is very progressive, forward-looking, inclusive, and I would say in a way path-breaking, right? Because it addresses every aspect that is required for the economy to propel to becoming a Viksit Bharat. And I think the measure you spoke about is a measure that is because it will boost consumption for the middle class, which will boost production and put the economy into a positive cycle of growth.
Also the focus on farmers and the districts, you know, and the cancer care announcements, the removal of duties on life-saving drugs. All of that must be a lot of relief to a lot of Indians who are watching this budget.
Absolutely, and like I said, the budget is something that has covered all aspects of society and of economy, across sectors, across strata of society. And I think when you look at India predominantly, it is an agricultural first economy. And I think the measures that have been taken to boost agriculture, agricultural employment, and business potential in agriculture will go a long way in propelling India.
And you know, the things I think what the finance minister also spoke about is competitive and cooperative federalism, where, you know, she spoke about, you know, this new index that we're talking about. That is something that also you must be watching with a lot of, interest.
Absolutely, and I think I'm a fundamental believer that competition leads to the best output because everyone then puts their best foot forward. So this is something that I'm very excited to hear about, and I'm sure it'll lead to a lot of positive progressiveness for the country.
Also, you know, what else do you think stands out for you in this budget? Because I know the income tax announcement is big and there's no denying it, and, you know, it is going to bring relief to the middle class. But apart from that, what were you looking at that you believe that the budget also addressed?
I think there were two other things in the budget today that really stood out for me. One was the significant focus on MSME, especially given that they form a large part of the Indian economy, and they are the true growth engine for India as we look at it, especially because a large part of India today is under the age of 35, and they are the ones who are starting up and are being entrepreneurial and are running these MSMEs. So I think a lot of impetus for the MSMEs, which will lead to a lot of productivity and growth for the country. And the second thing is the emphasis on investments, because without investments, there is no way anybody can grow, right? And so I think the investments were outlined across all segments and sectors, and I think that is what I was very excited to hear about.
And anything specific that you felt was missed out, could have been addressed?
You know, when I look at the budget today, I think overall it looked at all aspects of the country and the economy. It was very inclusive, and I thought it was very well thought through because it looked at every small aspect that could add to the growth of the Indian economy, and each of them was addressed. So I think it was a very progressive budget which was all inclusive, and I don't think anything was missed out.
Shashwat Goenka, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV.
Thank you.
So that's Mr. Goenka. Of course, he represents the CII Eastern region, and this is, of course, his understanding and his reaction to the budget.
So that is Saurabh Gupta getting us voices from experts from Kolkata. Remember that increasing investment in the country, which is key to growth, was something that was substantially visible, evident in today's budget. Also, FDI limit for insurance sector will be raised to 100% is what the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced today. And this limit is applicable to those who invest entire premium in India. And if you talk about the other important announcements that have been made today with regard to investment, remember the Prime Minister yesterday said that in innovation, inclusion and investment are going to be the key pillars of Modi 3.0. Clearly, the government wants to focus on growth to ensure that the slump in domestic consumption is also brought to speed, and more importantly, the kind of slowdown that we have been witnessing is something that is addressed, and the Indian growth story, or India's growth story, actually gets the momentum it deserves. In fact, Nirmala Sitharaman also announced today that the new income tax bill will be brought in into the parliament next week, and that is going to be aligned with the principles of justice. She also said that Jan Vishwas 2.0 is also going to be brought in, which will in some ways look at reducing unnecessary regulatory compliances, making it easy for MSMEs and also for startups. And a high-level committee will be set up for regulatory reforms in the non-financial sector. And a new index called the Investment Friendliness Index will also be set up. Remember, Niti Aayog already has the ease of doing business, which this is all to ensure that states remain competitive, and there is a sense of competition when it comes to attracting investments. Let's go across to my colleague Anuj Rayate, who will get us voices from the financial capital of the country, Maharashtra and also Mumbai, as to what they feel about the key takeaways from the budget today.
Vasudha, I've got a few youngsters here. Let us try and directly talk to them about what they feel about these issues. सबसे पहले बताइए कि आप क्या करते हो?
Hi, मेरा नाम भावेश शिंदे है. मैं BMM student हूँ. I'm currently working at a pharmaceutical company. Yeah.
So, just a few moments ago, we saw Nirmala Sitharaman end her budget speech, and the highlight of that speech was that those earning up to 12 lakh rupees will not have to pay income tax anymore. Of course, the rebation also counts later on, but what I want to understand from you is that you're going to step into this industry very soon, and consumption and parity have been some of the important values. So, as a youngster, जो कि industry में अभी जाने वाला, independently पैसे कमाने वाले, ऐसे decision को आप कैसे देखते हैं?
See, first of all, we welcome the Nirmala Sitharaman जो डिसीजन उन्होंने लिया है, बिकॉज एज यू सी जो कंजम्पशन जो अभी है मार्केट में चल रहा है बहुत कम हो गया है, बिकॉज टैक्स स्लैब और पिछले कुछ महीने से टैक्स आप देख रहे पूरे इंडिया में चल ही रहा है. सो अभी जो उन्होंने लाया 1 लाख के अंडर जो 12 लाख जो कमा रहे उनको टैक्स नहीं मिलने वाला. सो उसमें मनी जो फ्लो होगा मार्केट में, सो इट विल बी अ ग्रेट बेनिफिट फॉर यंगस्टर्स एज वेल, एंड जो अभी ऑलरेडी जो कमा रहे 1 लाख तक जो कमा रहे हैं उनके लिए ऑल, क्योंकि जो मार्केट में जो पैसा आने वाला इन्वेस्टमेंट भी कर सकते हैं. जो पैसा जो इसमें जा रहा था, टैक्स में जो जा रहा था, नाउ वी कैन इन्वेस्ट दैट फॉर आवर सेल्फ, वी कैन इन्वेस्ट दैट फॉर आवर फ्यूचर एज वेल. सो इट्स अ ग्रेट इनिशिएटिव आई विल से फ्रॉम मैम.
ओके, दैट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंटर. आप मुझे बताइए कि एक सबसे पहले आप क्या करते हो?
मैं इंजीनियरिंग किया, मैं जॉब लगा, जस्ट जॉब लगा.
ओके, इट्स वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग बिकॉज उन्होंने अपने स्पीच का हाईलाइट ये भी था कि जो स्टार्टअप्स रहेंगे इंडिया में उसको भी एक तरीके से प्रमोट करने की कोशिश की जा रही है. और हम देख रहे हैं कि पिछले कुछ सालों में इंडिया में स्टार्टअप कल्चर एक तरीके से बूम हो रहा है. Of course, you're an engineer. Right now, you're working in a job, and then later on, you might have ideas to do something by your own self. तो ये जो पूरा startup culture है, जिसको government का encouragement मिल रहा है, as a youngster, as an engineer, how do you look at that?
मिलने तो वाला है. एक तरफ से देखा तो अच्छा भी, एक तरफ से देखा तो बुरा भी. देखा तो अभी देखो जो पैसा जो बच रहा है इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, जगह लेंगे, बहुत जगह है. लेकिन जो एकदम देख जा रहा है कि पैसा बचा कर रहे क्या, जो फ्री में योजना जो दे रहे हैं ना, वो किधर से तो वो कम होती जाएगा, लेकिन वो ऐसा हो रहा है.
तो ऐसा हो जाएगा कहना है कि जो सोशल वेलफेयर स्कीम्स है उनके ऊपर फर्क पड़ेगा, ऐसे
फर्क पड़ने वाला है. वैसा तो होगा ही ना, क्योंकि जो टैक्स लेते थे वो योजना में डालते थे, जैसे फ्री योजना आती थी, जैसा देखा जाएगा तो मतलब सरकारी जो मिलता था फ्री में वो उसी टैक्स में से जाता था. अभी वो तो थोड़ा बहुत करके वो तो कम हो जाएगा, लेकिन वैसा भी देखा जाएगा तो जितना पैसा जो वो बचा दे तो हर सरकार ने ये योजना निकाला तो अच्छी बात होगी, तो सोचा भी होगा तो उसके हिसाब से कुछ तो होगा भी वैसे.
तो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन इज़ व्हाट इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट इज़ व्हाट यू सेइंग. अब यू टेल मी कि हमने देखा काफ़ी ब्रीफली में बताइए कि रूरल जो इंडस्ट्री उसमें भी इन्वेस्ट करने की बहुत कोशिश की है सरकार ने. व्हाट आर योर व्यूज़ अबाउट मेंटेनिंग अ बैलेंस बिटवीन रूरल एंड अर्बन इकोनॉमी?
आई थिंक दैट अभी क्योंकि प्रॉब्लम रूरल में ये हो रहा है कि बहुत सारे कुछ मार्केट है ही नहीं, लोग सब रूरल अपने गांव से सब सिटीज़ आ रहे हैं. सो इट्स अ बेटर इनिशिएटिव. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जब रूरल डेवलपमेंट होता जाएगा तो लोग दे डोंट हैव टू लीव देयर हाउसेस एंड and work and struggle here in the city. So the better it is, the closer to them. Yes, it's better to have that kind.
All right. These were very interesting voices here from the Mumbaikars. Back to the studio.
Well, thank you, Anuj. Those voices from the financial capital of the country. Also joining us now is BJP leader Prakash Javadekar, former minister. Mr. Javadekar, thank you so much for joining us. A big day for the government and for the party, sir. There was a certain sense that middle class was feeling a lot of pressure. This is also coming at a time when domestic consumption was in some ways mutated. And also we are looking for some momentum in the economy that has slowed down. How do you find the budget? Has it been able to address the demands of the middle class?
The justice which was much needed and due for long for middle class, because it is paying income tax, and essentially honest income taxpayers have to be given concession. So that is given, and that is why people are so happy. But this is not just about middle class. This is about taking India further to the goal of achieving Vikasit Bharat by 2047. And what it is giving is, it is fiscal deficit in control, not a small achievement. Then inflation will be moderate. Make in India the thrust area, unlocking the India's potential is what is on card. Make in India, MSME, thrust on MSME, their production, their role is recognized well. Ease of providing, ease of doing business. I think this is the thrust of this budget. And there are so many factors and decisions taken in this regard. It is essentially a reforms budget. It is performance budget. It is most interesting factor is in every aspect. Sustainability has become a catchword. Sustainability, because world is suffering from climate change and there will be many problems for all countries, that Modi ji's own commitment to sustainability is reflected all over the budget, and that is the most welcoming feature. Productivity. This was the need of the hour. This was lacking. In India, if we are taking food production, we are half the productivity than the world's best. Our world's best, we are just 30-40%. And average is world's average, and our productivity is 50%. So unless we increase the productivity in every respect, be it in factory, be it in farm, be it in our all endeavors, we cannot compete in the world. And therefore, all the measures taken has a far-reaching impact. And therefore, I will say this is a transformative budget laying the foundation stone for Vikasit Bharat of 2047.
Okay. Mr. Javadekar, in your assessment, besides the huge relief that's come in for the middle class, what would be that other big game-changing move? Would that be the reforms in manufacturing that the FM has announced? Or would it be a complete intention to deregulate that she has mentioned again in the budget speech? What, according to you, stands out as that big transformative move?
One is, which is not discussed, but human capital. We have recognized if we have to be a demographic dividend, then we must to improve our human capital. And Atal Tinkering Lab at 50,000 schools, broadband at all rural schools, childhood education, Saksham Anganwadi is nothing but childhood education propounded in our national education policy. Then Bharatiya Bhasha, Gyan, skilling, excellence centers, more ITIs.
Indeed.
All this is strengthening ITIs, is all that is building the human capital and more medical seats.
Absolutely.
And more seats.
Absolutely.
So this is one. But as you asked very particularly, that infrastructure boost has not gone down. It is capex is 10 lakh plus crores.
Yes.
It's a huge development and will continue on the growth trajectory. and building our infrastructure. They have identified tourism and many other sectors.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. A huge focus on infrastructure. I'm afraid I have to cut you short there, sir, because I have to cut across to Rajnath Singh, Raksha Mantri, who's speaking right now.
2025-26 के बजट में डिफेंस मिनिस्ट्री को 6,81,000 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक का एलोकेशन किया गया है, जो पिछले साल के बजट एलोकेशन से 9.5% अधिक है। और मुझे बताते हुए प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि डिफेंस बजट यूनियन बजट का लगभग 13.44% है। डिफेंस फोर्सेस का मॉडर्नाइजेशन हमारी सरकार की यह प्राथमिकता रही है और हम इसके लिए निरंतर कार्यरत हैं। इसके लिए 2025-26 में 1,80,000 करोड़ रुपए का कैपिटल एलोकेशन किया गया है, जो हमारी सेनाओं की कैपेबिलिटी को और अधिक बढ़ाएगा। और इस बजट में हमारे डिफेंस फोर्सेस के रेवेन्यू बजट के अंतर्गत 3,11,000 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक का एलोकेशन किया गया है, जो पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर के एलोकेशन से 10% अधिक है। और पिछले वर्ष के तरह ही डिफेंस मॉडर्नाइजेशन बजट का 75% हिस्सा डोमेस्टिक इंडस्ट्री से प्रोक्योरमेंट में खर्च किया जाएगा। इससे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो डिफेंस में आत्मनिर्भरता का लक्ष्य रखा है, उसको पूरा करने में मदद मिलेगी और डोमेस्टिक डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रीज को भी बढ़ावा मिलेगा। भूतपूर्व सैनिकों और उनकी फैमिलीज को बेहतर स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं प्रदान करने के लिए यंग सर्विसमैन कंट्रीब्यूटरी हेल्थ स्कीम यानी ECHS को 8,300 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक का एलोकेशन किया गया है। ये पिछले साल के बजटरी एलोकेशन से लगभग 19% अधिक है। बॉर्डर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को और मजबूती प्रदान करने के लिए इस साल के बजट में कैपिटल हेड के तहत बॉर्डर रोड्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, भाई ऐसा है, इसे काहे को लंबा डाल दिए, कोई जरूरत नहीं, बंद कर लो। बहुत लेंदी कर दिया, बहुत कोई जरूरत नहीं है। प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि डिफेंस बजट यूनियन बजट का लगभग 13.4।
Okay, that of course was Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh, and with me here now in the studio is the editor-in-chief of the NDTV network, Mr. Sanjay Pugalia, to give his expert view, take on the budget. Sir, thank you so much for being here, and decode for us, sir, explain to us why this budget is transformative. हम headline की बात कर रहे हैं, 12 lakh rupees, but talk to us, sir, about what you think are the key highlights of the budget.
थैंक्स गौरी। सबसे पहले तो कहता ना अटेंशन ग्रैब करने के लिए, उसमें मेरा पहला डायलॉग ये है कि ये RRR है। बहुत ही रिस्पॉन्सिबल बजट है, रिफॉर्मिस्ट बजट है और रिवॉल्यूशनरी बजट है जहाँ तक देश के इकोनॉमिक गवर्नेंस का सवाल है। लेकिन जहाँ तक पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमी का सवाल है या पॉलिटिक्स का सवाल है, तो इसका एक लाइटर वेन में हेडलाइन ये हो सकता है कि आज बिहार के चुनाव का ऐलान हो गया और दिल्ली का बूथ कब्जा हो गया। क्योंकि मिडिल क्लास को इतनी बड़ी राहत दी गई है और ये 97 के बजट के बाद हुआ है कि जिनकी इनकम 12 लाख तक है उन पर कोई टैक्स नहीं होने वाला। ये एक बहुत बड़ा रिलीफ है और 25 लाख रुपए तक आप समझ लें कि 25 लाख के बाद 30% का टैक्स लगेगा। ये रिलीफ किसी भी फ्री बी जो कि एक इर्रिस्पॉन्सिबल तरीका होता है उससे ज़्यादा बड़ी रिलीफ है और बहुत बड़ी आबादी को ये रिलीफ है। इससे दो चीज़ें होंगी कि कंजम्पशन बूस्ट होगा। कंजम्पशन बूस्ट होने का मतलब होता है कि अब आप इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए प्राइवेट सेक्टर को एक आधार दे रहे हैं कि आइए इन्वेस्ट करिए, कैपेसिटी बढ़ाइए, यानी कि नौकरियां क्रिएट होंगी। नौकरियां क्रिएट होंगी तो आपका ग्रोथ बढ़ेगा, जो हमारी सबसे बड़ी ज़रूरत है। मैंने शुरू में क्यों कहा कि RRR रिस्पॉन्सिबल इसलिए है कि फिस्कल डेफिसिट के नंबर पे जो वादा था उस पर ये बिल्कुल अड़े हुए हैं और 4.8 से अब अगले साल के लिए 4.4 का फिस्कल डेफिसिट का टारगेट इन्होंने रखा है। कैपेक्स थोड़ा बढ़ाया है सरकारी खर्चा इन्वेस्टमेंट्स के लिए, ग्रोथ के लिए, लेकिन बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं बढ़ाया। ये भी उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के बिहेवियर पैटर्न को बताता है जो लगातार FM इतने वर्षों में इस पर ध्यान देती आई हैं, या पूरी मोदी सरकार फिस्कल प्रूडेंस को लेकर के हमेशा बहुत सीरियस रही है। दूसरी बड़ी चीज़ कि अब आप जब इसको इकोनॉमिक इंजन को बढ़ाने के लिए इन्वेस्टमेंट, पावर हो या माइनिंग हो या अर्बन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हो, सब पर आप जोर लगाएं। उसके अलावा जॉब क्रिएट करने के लिए ग्रास रूट पे जो एग्रीकल्चर के लेवल पे, रूरल के लेवल पर काम होना है, उसके बारे में बहुत पॉइंटेड और स्पेसिफिक टारगेटेड स्कीम्स हैं। एग्जाम्पल, 100 ज़िलों में प्रधानमंत्री धन धान्य कृषि योजना, अब वो एक ऐसा बूस्टर डोज बनेगा, अब पूरे देश में एक लागू करो और टारगेटेड तरीके से काम करो, उसमें बहुत फ़र्क पड़ जाता है। तीसरी चीज़, इन्वेस्टमेंट बढ़ाने के लिए, चाहे वो देशी हो या विदेशी, कंजम्पशन का टैक्स रिलीफ का एक बड़ा आधार बना करके आपने कंप्लायंस पे, ईज़ ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस पे इसमें बहुत ज़ोर लगाया है और उसमें देशी और विदेशी निवेशकों के लिए कंप्लायंस के बहुत सारे बर्डन हटाने के लिए इन्होंने ऐलान कर दिया है। KYC के बारे में जो कहा है कि बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेशन था, उससे बहुत दिक्कत होती थी, उसको ये ठीक कर रहे हैं। बहुत सारे ऐसे भी क्लॉजेज हैं जिसका जिक्र किया है वित्त मंत्री ने, जिसका संबंध FDI से होगा, मल्टीनेशनल्स यहाँ आकर के पैसा लगा सकें। इसी प्रकार इंश्योरेंस में 100% का FDI 74 से बढ़ा करके, ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा कदम है। तो मैं ये समझता हूँ कि रिवॉल्यूशनरी मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूँ कि मिडिल क्लास को एक एनर्जी देना, जो इनका एक बहुत बड़ा वोटर तबका भी है उस हिसाब से। दूसरा, रिस्पॉन्सिबल इसलिए कह रहा हूँ कि फिस्कल प्रूडेंस का पूरा ध्यान रखा है, बड़ी बात है। तीसरा, रिफॉर्मिस्ट इसलिए कि हमेशा हम बात करते थे कि आप लोगों को ट्रस्ट नहीं करते। पिछला जो कल इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में आया, ये अनंत नागेश्वरन साहब ने जो पूरा एक सर्वे लिखा, उसमें बहुत ही ग्रेशियस भाषा में सरकार का क्रिटिक था, सरकारों का क्रिटिक था कि आप लोगों को ट्रस्ट नहीं करते। आप उनको जब तक ट्रस्ट नहीं करेंगे, रेगुलेशन कम नहीं करेंगे, तब तक वो एनर्जी जनरेट नहीं होगी। तो हमको लगता था कि सर्वे में जो कहा जाता है वो बजट में आए, ज़रूरी नहीं है, लेकिन इस बजट में सर्वे की बहुत सारी क्रांतिकारी बातों को लागू किया गया है।
बिल्कुल, दैट लिंक इज देयर, वो दिख रहा है। सर्वे की जो एक बहुत बड़ी बात थी वो गेट आउट ऑफ द वे था, उस पर मैं अभी आऊँगी कि किस तरह से पुश मिल रहा है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को और क्या एरियाज़ है जहाँ पे डीरेगुलेशन हुआ है। बट पहले सर, आपने बोला कि ये सबसे ज़्यादा बड़ा रिलीफ मिला है आज तक। बहुत लोगों से हम अभी बात कर रहे हैं, हमारे रिपोर्टर्स भी हमें बता रहे हैं कि इतना एक्सपेक्टेड भी नहीं था। जो गेस्ट थे वो भी कह रहे थे दिस बीट्स द एक्सपेक्टेशन वी हैड। हमारी बेस्ट एक्सपेक्टेशन 10 लाख की थी। द फैक्ट दैट द FM हैज़ given more than what people were even expecting in their best case scenario, what do you think would have been the thinking to be able to give this kind of a relief to the middle class?
ये जाहिर है कि मिडिल क्लास जो है भारत का, या आप SME कहें, व्यापारी कहें, दुकानदार कहें, छोटी कमाई वाले लोग कहें, भारत का ग्रोथ इंजन यही लोग चलाते हैं। जब आप इनको एनर्जाइज करते हैं तो उसका बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट होता है। और ये बात सही है, मैं हंसा इसलिए था आपका सवाल सुन करके कि कल मैं अपने घर में बात कर रहा था तो मेरी पुत्रवधू ने कहा कि आप कितना एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं, तो मैंने कहा 10 लाख, तो उसने कहा हमको लगता है 12 लाख। बस शर्त नहीं लगी, वरना मैं हार जाता, और 12 लाख की बात सही निकल करके आ गई। ये एक बहुत बड़ा बूस्टर डोज है कंजम्पशन और इन्वेस्टमेंट के साइकिल को चलाने के लिए। और इसके पीछे जो थॉट है, जाहिर है कि पॉलिटिकल थॉट तो हमेशा रहता ही है। किसी भी डेमोक्रेसी में पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप का काम है कि अपने लोगों को, जिसको मैं कहता हूं कि टारगेट ऑडियंस को आप कैटर करें, वो तो है ही है, लेकिन ये पूरे इकोनॉमिक साइकिल को बड़ा करने के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। दूसरा, इस बजट में बहुत साफ नहीं पता चलता, लेकिन जितने ग्लोबल अनसर्टेनिटी हैं उसमें इस बात का ध्यान रखा गया है कि एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर से हम कितना ग्रो करेंगे के बजाय इंटरनल फैक्टर से कितना ग्रो करेंगे, तो हमारी डिपेंडेंस इंटरनल पर ज़्यादा रहे। तो उसके लिए जिसको कहते हैं बेस तैयार करना, ये बहुत बड़ा बेस तैयार किया गया है। ये टैक्स रिलीफ अभी सुनने में अमाउंट के तौर पर बहुत बड़ा नहीं लग रहा होगा, क्योंकि हम लोग शहरी लोग थोड़ा ऊंची तनख्वाह वाले लोग होंगे, लेकिन भारत के ज़्यादातर लोग जो टैक्स हैं वो इसमें आ जाते हैं। इसकी वजह से एक चीज़ और होगी, टैक्स बेस भी बढ़ेगा। ऑलरेडी भारत में पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स अब कॉरपोरेट टैक्स के ऊपर जा चुका है। तो जो भी 12-14 लाख करोड़ के आसपास का इस वक्त का जो नंबर है, तो जब शुरू में बहुत कम लोग टैक्स देते थे तब हमारा टैक्स कलेक्शन कितना था, और अब का नंबर देखें तो उसमें बहुत बड़ी बढ़त है। तो लोग अब टैक्स देने के लिए ज़्यादा इनकरेज भी होंगे, उनको नज भी किया गया है।
ये डीक्रिमिनलाइजेशन जो किया गया है, 2 साल की जगह 4 साल की विंडो दी गई है, ये भी एक जो टैक्स टेररिज्म से हटके टैक्स कंप्लायंस का जो एक एटमॉस्फेयर है उसको बहुत बूस्ट करेगा।
आपने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा कि जो पूरा माहौल था, जो इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी में जुड़ा हुआ मध्य वर्ग है, साधारण लोग हैं, उनके ऊपर ये तलवार हमेशा लटकते रहती है कंप्लायंस की और क्रिमिनल एक्शंस की। उसके बारे में ये बजट साफ बता रहा है कि करीबन 50% कंप्लायंस ये हटाने जा रहे हैं और उसके लिए एक कमीशन बनाएंगे जो इस पर जल्दी फैसला कर लेगा। इसी तरीके से अब आप 4 साल तक अगर अपना रिटर्न भर सकते हैं और उसको अपडेट कर सकते हैं तो ये बहुत बड़ी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है। तो वो जो निर्मला सीतारामन ने टर्म यूज़ किया, ट्रस्ट फर्स्ट स्क्रूटनाइज लेटर, ये अप्रोच है और ये बड़ा ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि अगर आप लोगों का ही विश्वास नहीं लेंगे और उन पर विश्वास नहीं करेंगे तो वो एनर्जी कहाँ से जनरेट होगी जो आपको 10% का ग्रोथ दे, जो आपको विकसित भारत बनाए।
जी, अब बात करते हैं सर, जो इकोनॉमिक सर्वे ने भी कल कहा, इनफैक्ट उनकी तो वर्डिंग्स ये थी, गेट आउट ऑफ द वे। इकोनॉमिक सर्वे ने कहा एसेंशियली डीरेगुलेट करिए, हमें भी अपना एक डोजे अपना बनाना चाहिए, वे वी टॉक अबाउट मोर एफिशिएंट वे वे लेस गवर्नमेंट हैपेंस। और उसको लेके मेक इन इंडिया 2.0 की बात की गई है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को किस तरह से बढ़ावा देने की बात की गई है, क्रेडिट को और बढ़ाने की बात की गई है, एसएमई पे बहुत फोकस किया गया। सर, आपके हिसाब से कितना इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में, जो हमारी एक कैपेबिलिटी और दूसरा जो हमारी एस्पिरेशन है उसको लेके?
काफ़ी फ़र्क पड़ेगा और उसके लिए जो बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स बनाने की ज़रूरत है, फ्रॉम पावर टू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टू मिनरल्स टू क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स और अब न्यूक्लियर पावर, इन सारी चीज़ों पर इसीलिए काफ़ी फोकस किया गया है, जिसके कारण हमको उस लक्ष्य को हासिल करने में मदद मिले जिसकी ज़रूरत है। गेटिंग आउट ऑफ द बिजनेस वे का जहाँ तक सवाल है, मुझे लगता है कि मूल रूप से मोदी सरकार प्राइवेट सेक्टर का इन्वॉल्वमेंट ज़्यादा चाहती है। बहुत सारे लोगों की तो शिकायत ये है कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर 7,50,000 कंपनियों की बात कर रहा हूँ जो टॉप निफ्टी की हैं, 7-8 लाख करोड़ के कैश पर बैठा हुआ है, इन्वेस्ट क्यों नहीं कर रहा? ब्याज की कमाई कर रहा है वो, लेकिन वो इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं कर रहा जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को बढ़ाए, जो हमको एक्सपोर्ट के लिए और कम्पिटिटिव बनाने में मदद करे। लेकिन उसके लिए शिकायत ये है कि कंपटीशन के लिए रेगुलेशन वगैरह वगैरह जो सारे जुड़े हुए मुद्दे हैं। तो एक तरफ ईज़ ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस आप कर लें, दूसरी तरफ आप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को बढ़ावा दें हमारी डोमेस्टिक ज़रूरत को पूरी करने के लिए, तो उस पर ये फोकस है। और प्राइवेट पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप की बात भी काफ़ी डिटेल में की गई है कि कैसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट में काफ़ी कुछ जो है अब पीपीपी के भरोसे छोड़ा जाए, बढ़ाया जाए, और वहाँ पर टैक्स इंसेंटिव देना बहुत ज़रूरी है। कॉस्ट के बड़े इश्यूज़ हैं, उसको किस तरीके से सरल बनाया जाए, तो वो सारे नगेट्स इसमें हैं। अभी बहुत सारा फाइन प्रिंट में तो चीज़ें सामने नहीं आई हैं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि इस बार सरकार को ये एक सिग्निफिकेंट रियलाइजेशन कि प्राइवेट कैपेक्स बढ़ाने के लिए उनको भी एक इनेबलिंग माहौल बनाना है। मेरी अपनी शिकायत ये है कि इंडिया का कॉरपोरेट सेक्टर थोड़ा हाथ खींच करके बैठा हुआ था, उसने बहुत ज़्यादा इंतज़ार किया, लेकिन अब सरकार ने इतना आधार बना दिया कि उसके पास बहाना नहीं होगा।
सर, कल इकोनॉमिक सर्वे ने इस पे भी बोला था, उन्होंने कहा था कॉर्पोरेट्स स्विमिंग इन एक्सेस प्रॉफिट, दिस वाज द वर्ड दैट इकोनॉमिक सर्वे यूज्ड।
एब्सोल्युटली, मैं उसी का इशारा कर रहा था कि वो बहुत सारे मुनाफे पर बैठे हुए हैं, ब्याज का या शेयर मार्केट की कमाई का पैसा कमा रहे हैं, लेकिन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं। अब भारत मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के बिना उस मुकाम तक नहीं पहुंच सकता जो हमारी सरकार का ऑब्जेक्टिव है, विकसित भारत का। और अब तो आप ट्रंप वाली दुनिया में हैं, और जब ट्रंप वाली दुनिया में हैं तो आपको, पहले हम कहते थे कि हम माल बनाएं, बाहर बेचें, उससे हम बहुत कमा लेंगे। ज़रूर वो प्रॉस्पेरिटी के लिए ज़रूरी है, लेकिन उससे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि आप अपना सारा ग्रोथ का आधार अब डोमेस्टिक ऑडियंस पर, डोमेस्टिक इंडस्ट्री पर, डोमेस्टिक कंजम्पशन पर फोकस करके बढ़ाएं।
और सर, अगर हम जॉब्स की बात करें, जॉब क्रिएशन एक रिकरिंग एस्पेक्ट रहा है इस बजट से। ये ग्रोथ ओरिएंटेड बजट है, इसमें इंटरनल इकोनॉमी पे बहुत फोकस किया गया है, कंजम्पशन पे बहुत फोकस किया गया है। जॉब्स पे क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा सर आपके हिसाब से इस पे?
जॉब्स पे इस पे इम्पैक्ट जो पड़ेगा वो सरकारी योजनाओं के कारण इसलिए पड़ेगा कि पाइपलाइन में जितने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के प्रोजेक्ट होंगे, जब आप एक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का प्रोजेक्ट लगाते हैं तो ये कई गुना जॉब क्रिएट करने का आधार बनाता है। प्राइवेट सेक्टर इसमें थोड़ा पीछे रहेगा, जो ज़्यादा जॉब देने की स्थिति में है। और प्लस अब हम नया चैलेंज देख रहे हैं ऑटोमेशन वगैरह का या एआई का, उसके कारण जॉब पे बहुत बड़ा रिस्क है। ये स्पीड का गेम है। आपका सवाल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इस सेंस में है कि आपको स्पीड से जॉब क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा। हम थोड़ा सा समझते हैं, जो लोगों से बात करते हैं उनको सुन करके, कि थोड़ा स्लो जॉब क्रिएशन होगा। अभी जो माहौल है उसको देख, और यहीं पर फोकस करना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, जिसमें सरकारी खर्चे पर ही ज़्यादा काम चलेगा इस वक्त।
फाइनल क्वेश्चन सर, द पॉलिटिकल इम्पैक्ट, आपने शुरू में ये बात कही थी, सबसे पहले बिहार और दिल्ली की बात कही थी, बट लार्जर इम्पैक्ट आपको क्या लगता है इस बजट का, मैसेजिंग का, जो सरकार मैसेज दे रही है इससे, उसका?
देखिए, ये सरकार हमेशा अपना जो भी काम करती है इकोनॉमिक गवर्नेंस या पॉलिटिकल पॉलिसी को आगे बढ़ाने का, उसमें वो पिरामिड अगर स्ट्रक्चर है तो बॉटम ऑफ पिरामिड जनता ही पर फोकस होना चाहिए। तो बैकवर्ड इलाके, बैकवर्ड ज़िले, पिछड़े लोग, गरीब, युवा और महिला, ये जो कोर स्ट्रक्चर है, फोकस इसी पर है, क्योंकि आप इनको एम्पावर करते हैं तो उसके बाद कहानी आपकी आगे बढ़ती है। इस बजट की एक बात जिसकी चर्चा कम हुई है, आखिरी में मैं यही बताना चाहता हूँ कि जितना वेलफेयर स्कीमों पर खर्चा अभी तक किया गया है, उसके बाद अचानक से अब कोई बहुत नहीं बढ़ाया जा रहा है। दरअसल सरकारी खर्चे कम करना इस बजट में ध्यान दिया गया है। इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि सरकार समझ गई है कि यहाँ तक तो ठीक था वेलफेयर स्कीमों का खर्चा, लेकिन इसके बाद अब ग्रोथ के इंजन को चलाने पर ही काम होगा, न कि वेलफेयर स्कीमों के खर्चे से काम होगा। तो उसको देखते हुए मुझे लगता है कि मध्य वर्ग को अब अपने बूते खड़ा करने के लिए जो वेलफेयर स्कीम के आगे की पॉलिटिक्स थी जी, ये उस नई पॉलिटिक्स को शुरू करने का काम करती है।
ये मुझे लगता है आपका बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेटमेंट है, दैट द मैसेजिंग एंड द इंटेंट, इसका लार्जर इम्पैक्ट क्या पड़ेगा इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स पे, इंडियन इकोनॉमी पे तो पड़ेगा ही पड़ेगा, इंडियन पॉलिटिक्स पे क्या पड़ेगा। एक लास्ट, आई नो आई सेड लास्ट क्वेश्चन बट आई हैव टू आस्क यू दिस, व्हिच इज दैट यू स्पीक टू द फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर वेरी रेगुलरली, आपको यू नो द थिंकिंग बिहाइंड द बजट, यू नो दैट बेटर। Explain to us, sir, in the backdrop of a growth which was subpar in terms of our expectations, do you think this will make us get on to that? ठीक है, हम 6.3 से 6.8 की बात कर रहे हैं, पिछला जो GDP था वो 5.4 आया था। क्या ये बजट है वो थ्रेशोल्ड लेवल पार कर पाएगा जो हम चाहते हैं, मे बी मोर देन 6.8%, be at that 7%?
ये प्रेडिक्शन मेरे पे ग्रेड के ऊपर की चीज़ है, मैं नहीं बता पाऊंगा, लेकिन इसका जो एक सिंपल लेमैन आंसर है वो ये है कि 6.3 से 6.8 ग्रोथ प्रोजेक्शन को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए ये सरकार बहुत माइंडफुल है कि ये बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक्स ठीक करने पड़ेंगे। तो इसीलिए जैसा मैंने कहा कि इन्वेस्टमेंट, सिंप्लीफिकेशन, ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस, कंजम्पशन बूस्ट विच क्रिएट्स जॉब, ये जो पूरा साइकिल है इसको ध्यान में रख करके इन्होंने ये काम किया है। ग्रोथ पक्के तौर पर इसके ऊपर जाएगा, लेकिन मैं थोड़ा स्केप्टिकल इस मामले में हूँ कि जब तक हम जवान हैं भारत, तब तक हम रिच होंगे कि नहीं, उसके लिए और तेज़ दौड़ने की ज़रूरत है। वो नंबर है 9% के आसपास का। तो 7 और 9 के बीच का फासला हम कितनी तेज़ी से तय करते हैं, गेम वहाँ पर है।
Magic lies in that 2%. Thank you so much, Sanjay sir, for giving us that perspective. That was Mr. Sanjay Pukalia, Editor-in-Chief of the NDTV network, explaining to us why this budget is so important at so many levels, and the message and the intent of the government and its larger ramification on the Indian economy as well as Indian politics. On that note, we slip into a very short break. We come back with lots more on the other side of our rolling coverage. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
I'm Toshiba Physical Technology. And I'm Toshiba Digital Transformation Technology. We're integrating advanced products and infrastructure with advanced analytics and the latest AI algorithms. We deliver secure, smart, and sustainable solutions that benefit society. Merging digital with physical, we're building a better future.
been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Kind attention, please. Delhi Election Metro 2025 is arriving on people's platform.
Please mind the gap.
BJP or AAP, who will get to the Delhi Secretariat station?
दरवाजे बाईं तरफ खुलेंगे.
Who will Delhi voters open the victory doors for? And who will be shown the door? Can the BJP throw AAP's victory run off track? Or will it be Kejriwal's ticket to win again? Can Congress take the election metro to revival? We will track it all for you. Delhi's decision destination.
Doors will open on the left.
Stay tuned to NDTV for mega metro poll coverage.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Kind attention, please. Delhi Election Metro 2025 is arriving on people's platform.
Please mind the gap.
BJP or AAP, who will get to the Delhi Secretariat station?
दरवाजे बाईं तरफ खुलेंगे.
Who will Delhi voters open the victory doors for? And who will be shown the door? Can the BJP throw AAP's victory run off track? Or will it be Kejriwal's ticket to win again? Can Congress take the election metro to revival? We will track it all for you. Delhi's decision destination.
Doors will open on the left.
Stay tuned to NDTV for mega metro poll coverage.
I'm Toshiba Physical Technology, and I'm Toshiba Digital Transformation Technology. We're integrating advanced products and infrastructure with advanced analytics and the latest AI algorithms. We deliver secure, smart, and sustainable solutions that benefit society. Merging digital with physical, we're building a better future.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
बिहार के लिए अपोजिशन का कहना है कि चुनाव को देखते हुए ये बजट लाया।
चुनाव तो आते रहते हैं, हर साल दो चरण में कुछ राज्यों में चुनाव होते ही हैं, तो इसको आप चुनावी बजट कैसे कह सकते हैं? बिहार क्या हमारा देश में नहीं है क्या? अगर बिहार के लिए कोई अच्छा काम हो रहा है, मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में बिहार के लिए ठोस कदम उठाया जा रहा है, तो उसमें तो अपोजिशन स्वागत करना चाहिए। इतना नकारात्मक राजनीति नहीं होना चाहिए।
सर, जो मिडिल क्लास फैमिली के लिए जो हुआ 12 लाख, पहले 7 लाख, अब 12 लाख, क्योंकि लगातार विपक्ष जो आवाज़ उठा रहा था कि मिडिल क्लास के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है, बहुत बड़ी राहत है, चाहे 2014 से लेकर 2025 तक की बात की जाए।
देखिए, मिडिल क्लास के लिए जो राहत मिला है वो तभी संभव है जब देश का अर्थव्यवस्था मजबूत से आगे बढ़ रहा है। अगर देश में आमदनी आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा, देश का अर्थव्यवस्था, इकोनॉमी का हालत ख़राब होगा, तो इतना बड़ा रिलीफ कैसे दे सकते हैं? इसलिए मोदी जी का जो अद्भुत हमारा देश का अर्थव्यवस्था को पटरी में रख कर के दुनिया में सबसे तेज़ी से आगे बढ़ाने वाला अर्थव्यवस्था बनाया है, जब तो जाकर के इतना बड़ा टैक्स रिलीफ दे पाया है। अदरवाइज ये कोई छोटा मोटा रिलीफ तो है नहीं। किसी अपोजिशन पार्टी तो इतना मांग भी नहीं कर पाया, उससे ज़्यादा रिलीफ दिया है। आप कल्पना कीजिए, ये तभी संभव है ना जब हमारा देश का इकोनॉमी का हालत बहुत स्थिर और मजबूत।
All right, that was Kiran Rijiju, a union minister, speaking about the budget. Let's now get in Mr. N.K. Singh, former chairperson of the 15th Finance Commission, joins us for his perspective on what he thinks about this budget. Mr. Singh, thanks so much for speaking to NDTV. There are some specifics in terms of the government finances that I will come to in a bit, but let me start by asking you, sir, your key takeaway from this budget. Okay, we'll try and get that line with Mr. Singh in just a bit. But let's get in Mr. Pranav Satya, who's the chairperson of the FICCI Committee on Taxation, and of course, partner and national leader, International Tax and Taxation Services at E&Y. Mr. Satya, this is a budget where taxation is the big headline. Your thoughts on the impact that this would have on kick-starting the economy, on starting the larger growth cycle that the government wants to start from here?
I think it's a very fantastic budget from a direct tax standpoint, particularly given the kind of relief the finance minister has given to the middle class. It is not tinkering, it is really a large relief to the middle class. I would expect that this particular step on the reduction in tax rate surcharge cess and the overall impact for any person could be, it is across the board and it could be as high as 1,43,000 at the higher levels. So I would feel it will give a tremendous impetus to consumption, both of consumable items, FMCG, as well as discretionary consumption. I would even anticipate some further investment avenues available because not all of the tax savings might be spent. Some of it might even get invested into productive purposes. So I would feel overall that this extra money in the hands of the taxpayers is certainly going to boost consumption as well as boost probably further financial savings and investment by the household sector.
That's
this in the midst of maintaining the fiscal discipline and the macro stability is, I think, a very deft handling of the fisc.
That's a very important point you made, and something that we've been mentioning on NDTV, which is that not all of the money that the taxpayers will save, they will go about consuming all of it. They will also save, they will also invest, and that is the larger cycle of growth that the FM is talking about. You know, on the screens we have put out all the slabs, the various slabs that are now, of course, being rejigged. There's a new interim tax bill that will be placed in Parliament very soon, and hopefully that the climate of tax collection, which till now was largely detrimental when it came to those who pay taxes, is going to change, and that's the larger shift in the mindset. But Mr. Satya, let me also ask you, in terms of when you add up all the exemptions, when you add up all the increased limits that are there, whether it is the senior citizens, whether it is those who have more than one house, you know, that's also a change that has been brought in. 2 houses is now, you know, a change that has been brought in. Talk to us about the impact on the parameters, because at the end of the day, all of this gets added up, and that's when you go about consuming, investing, or saving.
No, certainly. So there are very good steps even apart from this, like the TDS provisions that have been rationalized, the TCS and the liberalized remittance scheme provisions that have been simplified and rationalized. So I think overall the whole budget seems to be focused on giving more relief, simplifying the tax law, making it more clear and certain, at the same time maintaining stability and predictability while giving big relief to the middle class in particular. I would feel, therefore, the whole atmosphere of building taxpayer confidence, building taxpayer trust between the government and taxpayers will yield over a period of time very good results, because that will build an atmosphere of trying to contribute to the economy rather than having been forced to pay some taxes. So I would feel in all, this should boost growth. If growth is boosted,
yes,
it will automatically also result in tax buoyancy. And to that extent, it benefits the government as well.
Absolutely. 6.3 to 6.8% is the growth target that the government, that the economic survey has put in. To get on that 7% plus, it is transformative measures like these that would get us there. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your expert view. On that note, I'm going to slip into a very short break, come back with lots more on the other side, including that big interview that's flashing on your screens, Hardeep Puri in conversation with NDTV shortly on Budget 2025. Stay with us.
I'm Toshiba Physical Technology, and I'm Toshiba Digital Transformation Technology. We're integrating advanced products and infrastructure with advanced analytics and the latest AI algorithms. We deliver secure, smart, and sustainable solutions that benefit society. Merging digital with physical, we're building a better future.
Reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip and the spiritual sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
I'm Toshiba Physical Technology, and I'm Toshiba Digital Transformation Technology. We're integrating advanced products and infrastructure with advanced analytics and the latest AI algorithms. We deliver secure, smart, and sustainable solutions that benefit society. Merging digital with physical, we're building a better future.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip and the spiritual sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Kind attention, please. Delhi Election Metro 2025 is arriving on people's platform.
Please mind the gap.
BJP or AAP, who will get to the Delhi Secretariat station?
दरवाजे बाईं तरफ खुलेंगे.
Who will Delhi voters open the victory doors for? And who will be shown the door? Can the BJP throw AAP's victory run off track? Or will it be Kejriwal's ticket to win again? Can Congress take the election metro to revival? We will track it all for you. Delhi's decision destination.
Doors will open on the left.
Stay tuned to NDTV for mega metro poll coverage.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip and the spiritual sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Kind attention, please. Delhi Election Metro 2025 is arriving on people's platform.
Please mind the gap.
BJP or AAP, who will get to the Delhi Secretariat station?
दरवाजे बाईं तरफ खुलेंगे.
Who will Delhi voters open the victory doors for? And who will be shown the door? Can the BJP throw
Finance Minister's big bonanza for middle income groups. No tax up to the income of 12 lakh rupees. New tax slab says that there will be no tax up to 4 lakh rupees. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces 100% FDI in insurance. 100% FDI will be in place if the premium is fully invested in India. Loan scheme for new women entrepreneurs. Finance Minister launches new Dhan Dhanya scheme for farmers. Budget 2025 says that the capex pegged at 10.18 lakh crore rupees for FY25. Fiscal deficit for the current year is at 4.8%. Caps it at 4.4% for the next financial year. Big focus on urban infrastructure and the aviation sector. The government also announces 75,000 more seats in medical colleges over the course of the next 5 years.
Hello everyone and welcome to this very special conversation. Demand, democracy and demography. These are the three pillars on which Viksit Bharat foundations will be laid. That's what Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said as she went on to announce key relief for the middle class. With me is Union Minister Hardeep Puri to share his views on this budget. Mr. Puri, let me begin with the big question. Do you think this relief that the government has offered will address and boost the consumption that you're hoping for?
Most certainly, most certainly. If you raise the limit, exemption limit from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs, it's not only helpful to individuals, but you have several taxpayers. I'm not going to numbers, even in a household. They're all filing individual income tax returns. But more than that, this is a development budget which will lay a very solid step in the achievement of Viksit Bharat. Now, I want to start by congratulating the Honorable Finance Minister. She talked about democracy, development, demography, etc. Look, 1.4 billion people, if you look at their demands as belonging to different sections, this is a fantastic budget. It has something in it for everybody. You started talking about the middle class because in the last few months, madam, there has been an attempt to say that whilst the government is doing exceptionally well, to reach out to the farthest first, those who are most needy of, handouts like the 3 meals of dry ration in a day given to the during the pandemic, which is, but the middle class, which are the bulk of the taxpayers, not getting something. I am very, very happy to see that that lie has been called. From 7 lakh, it has gone up to 12 lakh, and if you're a salaried person, effectively 12 lakh to 75,000 is your relief. But everywhere else, agriculture, startups, you look at energy, you look at nuclear energy, you look at the shipping sector, you look at the private sector R&D, top 50 tourist destination, Heal India. Rationalization of customs duty. I think this budget, look, I've been around for a long time. I've seen several other budgets before this, 8 budgets of Nirmala Sitharaman, but I've seen budgets by earlier finance minister. Budget making by itself is a complicated exercise. And the context for budget making also assumes an importance. You've got political direction of inclusive growth, propelling the economy forward. There are those cynics who say that with a 6.5 or a 6.8% growth, you cannot become Viksit Bharat by a certain day. But this will actually boost the growth rate because you have a situation today where consumption increase. And this is where the middle class comes in. This is where the other sectors come in. Agriculture, there's enough in it for agriculture, pulses. And I tell you something, one of the things you have to be very careful about is that it's not that you've taken something away from someone and given to that. This increase in spending, which is going to come from the middle class, and the middle class is large, all right? Which also there was some criticism that, middle class is not fully on. They are on board. In fact, if you look at the BJP's, this thing is not meant for the party. I think one of the very nice statements that PM made in the statement in the session that we had with him prior to the adjourning. There are things which are done for the overall country's interest, not for an individual group or a region.
You know, middle class is the buzzword, certainly, because keeping in mind the Delhi elections, but sir...
No, middle class is the buzzword for the whole year. Okay. Delhi elections will be over in two days' time or 4 days' time, but we are winning that in any case.
Okay, but does it cover the middle class, the entire arc of middle class, or will you say that this is largely focused on the lower middle class?
I would not be tempted to fall into a categorization of whether this is. I'll tell you why it's overall. You know, the Finance Commission, the Pay Commission has been established. The Pay Commission, and I've been a civil servant for 39 years, every time there's a Pay Commission established, the hike which comes even at the basic category is massive, massive. I look back to my own time. I started with my first salary in a teaching job at 400 rupees a month. My first salary in the IA, Foreign Service was also 400 rupees basic a month. अभी कहाँ तक बेसिक पड़ रही है और जब पे कमीशन की recommendations आएंगे, it's a massive increase which goes in. Government servants are actually very well paid, I mean by relative standards. This one applies across. It's not just for lower middle class. Let me explain why. The amount of relief you get as a result of, if your income is 12 lakhs, you have no income tax payable. Earlier, if you had little over 7 lakhs, a certain tax rate kicked in. Now, if you see in the slabs also revised, if you earn 20 lakhs, you've got so much saving. If you earn 24 lakhs, so much saving. All those computations are available, and I think as the budget sinks in, because there are stuff in this for the health sector, the number of drugs which are being added to the list of no basic custom duty, saving drugs, so many things. So I think it's a very well thought through, very clearly result-oriented budget.
So you're of the opinion that the demand side problem of the economy will be addressed?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the criticism, we only look at the supply side. Nahi bhai, we look at all of it. Budgets are not made in isolation. Budgets are part of an evolving development narrative. And that development narrative is itself conditioned by the Viksit Bharat Sankalp. And I think in the last few years, somebody told me just now, how did you manage to do this? What about the capex? No, capex has also gone up. I think what happened is there was 30% increase in capex repeatedly in the last few years. We had a target of 11 lakh crores from what I remember. Expenditure has been, I think, 10 lakh crores plus. We set aside another 11.21 lakh crores. It's just a few minutes ago, so I'm still soaking in the numbers. But these are very impressive figures.
The opposition says that, of course, keeping in mind the Bihar elections which come later this year, there has been a lot of focus on the state. I'm happy about it. It's my state. But that's political calculation, certainly?
One minute. The budget is for the entire nation.
Yes.
It so happened that there are elections in Bihar. Now they're talking about some airport upgradation. Okay, I saw for Bihar.
Yes, there is.
Beta Airport also. But that's been going on throughout the country. It so happens today that there's an election in Bihar. And what I'm so happy about, look, Bihar needs additional development, whether it's during an election year or otherwise. Now, Makhana, I'm such a fan of Makhana. So, for the Mithila region, there is stuff. The country needs it. Also, just remember, the number of airports which have been built or made reusable has doubled from 2004 to now. We had 74 airports, now we have 150. The Udan scheme, by the way, Bihar is a great beneficiary. When we started flights from Darbhanga, it used to be zero air traffic, shot up. We didn't even need to give viability gap funding. Today we are in a situation, air traffic all over is becoming big. Why should Bihar not benefit from it? It just so happens that there's an election this year.
But that is coalition compulsion as well?
No, not at all. It is the fact that the Honorable Prime Minister is wedded to the development, the Viksit Bharat mantra. And if you've got to have developed, see how well UP is done. I'm sure that now with stable and progressive, sensible governments in Bihar, Bihar will also lift up.
One criticism which is coming in from opposition, Mr. Puri, is that there is no major incentive which has been announced to attract FDI particularly and strengthen India's global competitiveness.
Wait a minute. How can they make this statement? Look at the insurance sector. The FDI limit has been raised from 74% to 100%. But tell them to read the budget. Tell them to read the annexes, read the fine print. I can tell you, even those of us who have been working on this to prepare ourselves for inquisition by you, even you're soaking it in. It's just less than an hour or two before the announcements were made. And let me assure you, this budget has been not only welcomed in India, it will be welcomed outside. What are the people outside India looking at? They are looking at the India growth story. Okay, if India grows, one market which has a tremendous consumption capacity. There are big markets in the world, larger economies than India, where things are quiet. They are either growth is at 1 or 2%. If you are growing at say 6.5 or 6.8%, you are also creating demand for goods and services outside. After all, 50% of your GDP is in the external sector, and that GDP which is in the external sector, we want to see growth outside. The outside world wants to see growth here. And at the end of the day, you can say around that, oh, maybe the trends here are now working against globalization. But till we are able to navigate the current turbulence, it's very much an integrated globalized economy.
So is there an unrealistic growth projection?
No, not at all. I think both the fiscal deficit and the growth projections are very realistic. And I think if you are wanting to, and we are wanting now to raise from 6.5, 6.8 to go ultimately towards 8%, it's a very realistic projection.
What about the global headwinds? Is the budget...
Now, you and I can't sit and navigate the global headwind.
You have, President Donald Trump, who every next day makes an announcement which will have a huge impact on India as well. The tariff announcements, of course, you would understand that better.
With my experience of working in the United States, working in the multilateral system, both in New York and Geneva, I would say never be hasty in anticipating what is likely to come. Take these steps at a time and prepare for them. I personally believe the news from the Middle East so far has been good. You've got peace there. I look at the signs, I look at the statement of the incoming Energy Secretary in terms of what is in store in the Russia-Ukraine front. And I hope that conflict also winds down. I am very much encouraged by the by President Trump's statement that he wants to see global energy prices come down. He's talking about more energy being made available. So you look at this news, and whatever happens on the tariff front, it's in an integrated world. Some people impose tariffs, some will take countermeasures. Whatever happens, let's not anticipate and be apprehensive about something which we don't even know the shape of things is.
Okay, your final thought on the budget.
Excellent.
And then we wrap up this discussion.
Excellent budget. It is fulfilling a demand for impetus to growth, taking us in the direction of Viksit Bharat. But more than that, all my friends in the opposition, please look for a new issue. Middle class neglected here. Middle class ko bhi mil gaya. Now, all the measures are not announced in the budget. I mean, the pay commission was announced before that. The critical minerals mission was announced, adopted by the cabinet. So you looked at the totality of things. I said, all in all, an excellent budget.
Thank you so much for speaking to NDTV, sir.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Kind attention, please. Delhi Election Metro 2025 is arriving on people's platform.
Please mind the gap.
BJP or AAP, who will get to the Delhi Secretariat station?
दरवाजे बाईं तरफ खुलेंगे.
Who will Delhi voters open the victory doors for? And who will be shown the door? Can the BJP throw AAP's victory run off track? Or will it be Kejriwal's ticket to win again? Can Congress take the election metro to revival? We will track it all for you. Delhi's decision destination.
Doors will open on the left.
Stay tuned to NDTV for mega metro poll coverage.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, the festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip and the spiritual sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Kind attention, please. Delhi Election Metro 2025 is arriving on people's platform.
Please mind the gap.
BJP or AAP, who will get to the Delhi Secretariat station?
दरवाजे बाईं तरफ खुलेंगे.
Who will Delhi voters open the victory doors for? And who will be shown the door? Can the BJP throw AAP's victory run off track? Or will it be Kejriwal's ticket to win again? Can Congress take the election metro to revival? We will track it all for you. Delhi's decision destination.
Doors will open on the left.
Stay tuned to NDTV for mega metro poll coverage.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small.
For those of our viewers tuning in right now, Budget 2025 has really given a big bonanza to the middle class. A huge relief for no income tax till the income bracket of 12 lakh rupees. And besides that, there are a huge number of exemptions that have been added in the hope that in the expectation that this is going to spur economic activity, make us get into that high income bracket and let us achieve that Viksit Bharat target that the government has been talking about. To talk more about this budget, some of the other key aspects, its focus also on manufacturing and job creation. I'm now joined by Mr. Amitabh Kant, former CEO of Niti Aayog. Mr. Kant, thanks much for speaking to NDTV. Let me start by asking you on, well, Mahalakshmi has really shown and blessed the middle class in this budget this time around with a huge income tax relief that's come in. How do you rate this budget, and in your assessment, the key highlights that you think really stand out?
Well, I rate the budget very high because it's a budget which aims at growth with jobs, and it gives a huge fillip to demand creation. And when you put about 1 lakh of crores, and this is the biggest relief any government has ever given to the middle class of India, you are actually ensuring that the consumption drives economy, and consumption will lead to greater demand, and demand will lead to greater production, production will lead to greater jobs. So this, to my mind, is being done, but in a very fiscally responsible manner, because the fiscal deficit for this year was 4.8%, and next year the finance minister is aiming at 4.4%. So she's been very fiscally very responsible and very prudent. And also, I think one of the key highlights of this budget is a huge focus on labor-intensive sector. Never before has so much emphasis been put on tourism, on footwear, on leather, on toys, and on about 100 aspirational districts in the agriculture sector. So vast impact of labor-intensive sectors which will happen through creation of jobs. I would also say that the budget lays a lot of emphasis on innovation, on technology, on startups, to put a 10,000 crore fund of funds for startups, replenish it. Also talk about another 10,000 crore fund of funds for deep tech with a 20,000 crore for innovation. All this will have a multiplier impact on your economy, and then a clean tech mission so that we can manufacture solar, fuel cells, electrolyzers, batteries, all this in India. Make in India approach for clean tech manufacturing, all this is very, very important to my mind.
Indeed, a lot of
lastly, I would say that this thrust towards nuclear energy and opening up the insurance sector are also very, very major initiatives.
Indeed, a lot of focus on technology, a lot of focus on startups. But let me come back on the manufacturing bit. There's now a national manufacturing mission being talked about, aiding the MSMEs as well, increasing the credit guarantee, a whole host of other measures, also figuring out the logistics part, which has constantly been a constraint for us given India's higher logistics cost. How do you see that impacting and helping India's manufacturing aspirations get us to be the 30% of GDP by 2030? Do you see that happening? 25% actually, 25% of GDP by 2030.
That's, yeah. So it's very important to drive manufacturing because the very high portion, about 45% of your people are dependent on agriculture. They are poorly paid. You need to move them to good jobs in the manufacturing sector. And that, to my mind, is very important. And the budget does that through the instrument of credit guarantee, that startups and MSME can use the credit guarantee. Also, it lays emphasis on a lot of cutting-edge areas of growth, artificial intelligence, clean tech, etc. Now, my view is that the credit, private credit to GDP ratio needs to be enhanced. The finance minister has done her bit. The Reserve Bank of India now needs to ensure that there is flow of greater credit in a system